boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys. NASCAR racing, boys. Oh, yeah.
It's going to be another one of those fantastic Atlanta finishes. Gordon got loose in Torben. Here they come, and I think Gordon got the advantage. He does.
Love it when it's four wide. Love it when it's fast. Love it when the leaders cry. Happy moving past. Love it when they're making lots and lots of noise. Can't wait to hear the W say.
Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Let's go racing, boys.
Let's go racing, boys. Let's go racing, boys.
Fox Sports welcomes you to one of the fastest places on earth, Atlanta Motor Speedway. The drivers are getting ready. It's already been an eventful week. The lid has come off on points leader Carl Edwards, creating controversy. And after taking a hard hit, Jeff Gordon is on the pole for today's 500-mile race. This is NASCAR on Fox, and we're glad to have you with us. Our Hollywood hotel, our traveling studio, is Trackside on a cool but clear Georgia day. It's actually warming up. This is where America gathers every weekend for NASCAR. With Darrell Waltrip, Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, and thanks for being with us.
I'm cool.
He's clear.
Yeah. I'm cool. He's
Oh,
clear.
okay.
And I'm cloudy. All right, hey, so we've already had, compared to this time last year, 25 more lead changes, right? We've had some big wrecks last week, some exciting finishes. What about today?
More of the same. I mean, this car, and the thing I love about this car, and every crew chief and everybody knows it, it's up to the driver.
Yep.
How brave do you want to be? Will you put it in there like Kurt Busch or Kyle Busch has been doing? Will you stick it in places where it doesn't need to go? That's what we're going to see today.
And when you take a look at some of those guys like that, look at the front row and realize when you come to Atlanta, 24 times the winner has come off the front row, and a guy like Dale Earnhardt Jr. up 18 points from a year ago, you better watch out for that 88.
We're all waiting for that win, right? It's been 65 races since his last win, and every sport, this is the hot news, seems to be wrestling with scandal, from the NFL cracking down on videotaping to baseball and steroids. Now this week, NASCAR penalizing its most recent winner. Carl Edwards and car owner Jack Roush were docked 100 points each following the post-race inspection last Sunday in Las Vegas. NASCAR discovered that the cover that houses the oil tank was off. Crew Chief Bob Osborne suspended for 6 races, fined $100,000. Edwards and his team have denied that it was intentional. The penalty drops Edwards from 1st to 7th in the standings. In addition, if he is one of the top 12 drivers in the chase for the championship at the end of the year, he will not receive the 10 additional bonus points for having won the Las Vegas race. We'll have more on this in a moment. Let's check in now on the track with Steve Burns.
All right, thank you, Chris Myers. Carl, it's been a distracting week for you. You won 2 in a row, but you got the penalty. Your crew chief, Bob Osborne, is at home. Has it been mentally distracting for you?
You know, I try real hard not to let it bother me. Bob, I know you're watching. The deal is I've gone out and done the best I can. We've got 2 trophies in the last 2 weeks. There's nothing I can do about that. You know what happened. We got our penalty. It's a fair penalty. We all got to race under the same rules. And the mission right now is just to go out and win this race today, man. I'd love nothing more than to make it 3 in a row. But no, I've learned enough in this sport not to let something get me down. This has been a good couple weeks for us.
All right, good luck, Carl.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you.
Hey, Chris, he starts 4th today and has 2 wins here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway.
All right, so Jeff Hammond, who steps in as his crew chief today in the interim?
Well, they got a couple guys. Number one, Chris Andrews, and the other thing is Robbie Reiser's coming off the bench. I mean, he won championships with Matt Kenseth. He knows his team. He knows these drivers. It's going to be okay for these guys.
All right, Darrell, some other drivers were skeptical. They said, hey, we thought it might have been intentional. A quote from Lee White, general manager of Toyota Racing Development: I guarantee you the cover of the bolts didn't fall out. He later kind of pulled back on that statement. But in the garage, there's some chatter about intent or not on this.
Well, here's what I say. Shame on the team first, but then shame on NASCAR second. When those lids were loose at Daytona, they had 5 teams that got penalized down there. They should have taken a look at the procedure for mounting that lid on top of those oil tanks and made a change right there. 1 bolt is not sufficient. If that thing's creating as much pressure as everybody has dreamed up, then that needs more than 1 bolt holding it in place. Don't tempt me to cheat.
Right. And I know that you're going to take a closer.
Don't tempt
me. Neither one of you have ever been suspended, by the way. When you
no,
not in,
no. We might have should have been, but we weren't.
You can check my record.
In broadcasting,
I stand on my record.
That could change. Jeff, I know you're going to take a closer look and actually illustrate and show this later with Darrell, but could during the course of the race something like that loosen up where you wouldn't spot it?
I mean, you have things like it happen during the course of a race. I mean, you can't deny that, folks. I mean, things come loose. Now, whether it was designed designed that way, we'll never know. The fact is, it came loose. NASCAR said it's a no-no. And as we said earlier, you're busted.
All right, real quick. Carl said it's fair. You think the punishment is fair?
Well, based on what they've done to everybody else. But again, I think this car is we're in a research and development stage with this car. If it'll make the car better and it doesn't change the appearance of the car on the outside, I'd say, okay, that was illegal last week, but from here on out, everybody can do it.
Yep.
Okay. Jack Roush is appealing, of course. We don't know how this will turn out more later. I do know what's around the turn here, NASCAR on Fox, including in the pit zone. Darrell and Jeff will show us how a small oil lid can actually cause a large amount of trouble in the pit zone auto zone. We'll get a closer look at what actually happened to Edwards' car. It ain't easy being cool in Hot Atlanta, but we found out who the hippest drivers are in NASCAR, at least in their mind. Jeff Gordon will talk with us live, try to bounce back after the unlucky wreck in Vegas. Larry Mack was on Cloud 9 visiting the Weather Channel this week. And Darrell and Jeff are on the clock and gas and go. We hope you set those clocks forward. It's a place known for close finishes, and we're just getting started on Fox. The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by McDonald's. Score something good for breakfast. Try the new McSkillet Burrito, only at McDonald's. And by Sunoco. Fill your car with the fuel of NASCAR. Sunoco, it's what's inside. Welcome back to Atlanta Motor Speedway. Not some of the usual suspects of the top 10. Casey Kane is best positioned in 2 years in the points. Greg Biffle fifth in the standings and the fastest time during Saturday's practice session. And then Jimmy Johnson is almost always in the top 10, currently 14th. His teammate Jeff Gordon is currently 23rd. Chaz Palminteri, I'm sure, looking for all of them. Jeff failed to finish a race only once last year. He has two top five, or I should say one top five finish and 2 DNFs so far this year.
Oh, and there goes Jeff. Hard into the wall.
That could have been disastrous.
I got two things to say. You need soft wall and to change the wall back there on the back straightaway. That's the hardest I've ever hit.
And Jeff joining us from down on the track, 4-time winner here in Atlanta. Thanks for your time, Jeff. And on the pole, first physically, how are you? Mentally, you ready to roll?
Yeah, mentally, physically, we're ready to go. We had to snap right back out of it right away. We went to Phoenix and tested for 2 days with all the teams. So, you know, I was a little bit sore. Had soreness in areas that I've never experienced in my stomach muscles and different things. So it was kind of a strange hit, you know, the angle, but I'm very thankful for the safety of our race car and the seat belts and the Hans device and our seat that we built at Hendrick Motorsports really did its job.
Hey, Jeff, it's DW. I understood that you wanted to see the in-car camera footage of that wreck. What did you hope to see or learn from looking at that?
Well, you know, I just think anytime you go through a spectacular wreck, you want to see as many angles of it as possible. Some for entertainment purposes if you've walked away, and others for, you know, trying to learn. I wanted to see the angle and the amount of movement, you know, inside the car. I hit my elbow pretty hard, and I was trying to see, you know, exactly where I hit that. I think it was just on the side of the seat. But I just really wanted to see how much movement I had inside the car with my head and my whole body.
Well, Jeff, let's talk about today's race. A lot of guys have been complaining about the tires. The racetrack is worn out. You're sitting on the pole. Have you got the car right now that can get you to victory lane?
We've got the car and the race team. We've been proving that the last 3 weeks. You know, we've had awesome race cars. We just haven't had all the finishes to go along with them. But you know, I just think Goodyear overreacted. You know, they really panicked. This is a track that eats tires up. This car is not very friendly to the right side tires, and you know, I think they just went too far. So we all have our hands full. So it's going to be about survival today. And you know, I feel like we were not very good yesterday. Our teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. was really good. I think a lot of us are sharing his information, and we'll you know, see if it pays off for us.
Hey, Jeff, is it the car or is it the driver?
Which part?
The part I always say when the car looks really good and you say.
Yeah, no, that's the car.
When you win, it's the driver, Jeff.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, I get to be the one celebrating and getting most of the accolades, but no, it's a total team effort, as you know, and you know what? I've been racing long enough to know that if we're really far off, it doesn't matter what I can do out there on the racetrack. You got to have the whole package, and I certainly hope we pull that off today at the DuPont show. Chevrolet.
All right, we're glad you're healthy. Good luck to you. Thanks, Jeff.
Yeah,
Luck,
thank
buddy.
you. Me too.
All right, Jeff Gordon. And just updating a couple of other stories. Tony Stewart, who wrecked in Las Vegas, is just fine, suffering from a foot injury, but okay to go today. And Kurt Busch, also okay. Remember, he hit the wall in Vegas, went onto the care center, and was checked out just fine. Hey, Jeff Gordon, his first career start, just a little history, right, when Richard Petty was in his last race in 1992.
Yeah, the King stepped down and the Prince stepped up. I mean, it was pretty kind of one of those unique days, but he's really done well.
And the safer barriers, the car, they've done their job.
Yeah, well, I was impressed with the race car itself. That's the question mark every week, is the race car. Is it safer? Are the drivers ever going to get comfortable with it? I thought the car held up and did a great job. I mean, after all, folks, Jeff tested the next day in Phoenix, so the car did its job.
Yeah, the thing is, you keep asking all the time about, somebody needs to show me this car is going to work. Well, hopefully you're satisfied
That's
now.
a question mark I've had.
Yeah, and we're getting the lead changes. Hey, if you have what it takes to pick the car that's going to win each week, you can play AT&T's Fantasy Racing Challenge. Text in the car number you think will win at 2258. See how you do. Play all season long, and you have a chance to win $31,000 and other terrific prizes. Well, he's won the last two races here. Jimmy Johnson of the 4018. Get ready for the Kobalt Tools 500 coming up. The Kobalt Tools 500 Odd Box is sponsored by Lowe's for all your home improvement needs. Lowe's, let's build something together. And the song says, let's go racing, boys, and we will very soon here in Atlanta over this just over a 1.5 mile track outside Atlanta.
Macy, Caitlin, Uncle Mike right there.
Yes, it's getting a little closer to the action. You can obtain the song NASCAR Love by downloading it from iTunes. You can also get, oh, there you go, the ringtone from Jamster.com.
It's a good deal.
Anytime Daryl starts singing Boogity Boogity,
Good deal, boys.
get that set up on your phone. Yesterday at the track, Speedway Children's Charities, along with the Motor Racing Outreach Program, hosted the first ever Pinewood Derby. Mike Joy joined the families of Michael Waltrip, David Ruderman, Scott Riggs, Joe Nemechek, Ray Ebernham, Doug Yates, and others for a day at the races. And Christian Yates took the checker with the fastest Pinewood. That's where you take a block and kind of shape it into a car. And we're told that the winner did pass the post-race inspection.
You'd expect an engine guy to win.
An engine guy has to win.
Horsepower, baby.
Time for NASCAR news and notes. Hollywood has a movie in the works about an upcoming driver and his mentor and their rival relationship. We'll tell you about that. Also, Robbie Gordon, a further review. NASCAR gave him his 100 points back for having an improper nose.
On his face?
No, on his car. So that helped Gordon go up to 21st in points. Mike Skinner starting for A.J. Allmendinger. They make the field in the 84 car for the first time this year. A.J. hopes to work his way back into a regular ride later on. And this week in Welcome, North Carolina, Richard Childress Racing inducted Kevin Harvick's Daytona 500 winning car into their Hall of Fame. And Childress and Harvick on hand for the unveiling as well as autographs. And our weekly installment of Gas and Go. Remember, you spring forward, you turned your clock forward. So in honor of Daryl's savings time, so we're going to have we're going to put look one time for all
what
the.
are you chewing your
all the
fingernails?
questions.
Well, y'all make
gets
me
nervous.
nervous doing this because
All right.
it's one thing that I'm always surprised.
I like him.
No one knows the content of these questions, even me.
We don't. That's a fact. We
It is.
don't
They
know.
don't. They have to. And you're
Comes
on,
out of a safe.
You're on the clock, Daryl. What's with the Hendrick and we kid? But they've gone 4 races without a win. We're spoiled with them. Is there a Hendrick drought? Some adjusting. What's happening?
No. They're just fine, thank you. I
Okay.
mean, if you look at Jeff Gordon, he was up there in the front at Daytona trying to fight for the lead. He was up front in Vegas trying to fight for the lead. That car's running great. Dale Jr. is running great. He's off to one of his best starts. Jimmy Johnson and Casey Mears, they got a little work to do, but overall I think they're healthy. I wouldn't be too concerned just yet.
All right, Jeff, this year's version of Roush Fenway Racing, could they be like the Hendrick team of last year where they won almost 50% of the races and, of course, the championship?
Yes.
Yes?
Real easy. I mean, they've done it before. A few years ago, they were on a roll. I mean, it was that simple. Yes.
You disagree or no?
No, well, they are. They
Who would you make the
ended
favorite right now after 3 races?
I have to say Roush. I mean,
Okay.
the way they ended last year and the way they're off to the start they're off to this year, they're the team to beat right now.
They're prepared.
All right. Just don't take the lid. Well, we'll talk about that.
move
All right.
on.
Will Kyle Busch, Daryl, will Kyle Busch finally get a top 10 at Atlanta? I know you've loved the way he's raced, but here he hasn't done as well on this particular track.
No, but I tell you, the kid is so exciting. He's fun to watch, and that car is fast. He likes it. The chemistry's good. I would put money on him every week right now.
All right, yeah, one of only 3 tracks that he doesn't have a top 10 finish considering his age and his time in the sport. Very impressive. Jeff, Travis Quapple placing 8th. Well, didn't have a sponsor, but it got him a 1-week deal. So how good a driver is this guy? What kind of support does he need? Will we see him competitive?
Everybody is very high on this young man. Again, Larry McReynolds has worked with him. He and I talked about Travis's ability and feedback. It's right where it needs to be, and I think we're starting to see some of his talent come through. And Jack Roush would have never put him in that car along with Doug Yates if they didn't think he'd get the job done.
Okay, Darrell, Casey Kane off to a really good start. Only driver to finish in the top 10 in all 3 races this season. He was 36th in points after 3 races last year. So what's the difference and will it last?
Well, I think the difference is organization. I don't know that I don't know what's going on internally. I'm not that familiar with what Ray is doing now and what George Gillette's role in the operation is. But apparently, all the things they've done internally has improved the performance of their car at the track, and I think that's the difference. I don't think Casey's any different driver, but obviously they're better organized.
Money!
All right. Is there,
the Bud money doesn't hurt.
Jeff, is there any concern for Clint Boyer? A 3rd last year in championship race, having some problems.
No, I mean, again, you know, when you have such a great year like he did, anytime you don't perform exactly like you did, the very next year everybody starts saying, well, what's wrong with him? What's wrong with him? They ran strong again early this year. Richard Childress' teams have always been notorious for more or less getting better as they go through the season, not at the first of the season.
All right, Darrell, the big finish. Dale Jr. seems to be right there. 2nd last week, starting 2nd today. Could today be his day?
He loves this racetrack, and he's hungry, and thirsty, I might add, for a win. So I say I'm putting my money on June today. I go with
I said it before him.
Right on time. My favorite question, though, after Spago in L.A. and Picasso at the Bellagio in Vegas, how good was it to get back to the Waffle House? Coming out here in Atlanta. They don't want to comment. I kid. We'll continue.
Morning.
We have a lot more to go. We're counting it down to the Kobalt Tools 500. Give me extra surf there, Darrell, please. Just a little.
Scattered, smothered, and covered. That's us.
Carl Edwards will go to victory lane. Busted!
Was an absolute mistake. I think it insults my intelligence when you try to tell me that you accidentally left the oil tank lid off.
Edwards was docked 100 driver points, Jack Roush 100 owner points, Bob Osborne 6-week suspension.
Back at Atlanta Motor Speedway, getting ready for the start of the race, a big story that we'll watch unfold. How will Carl Edwards do a week after NASCAR finding him for having an improperly secured oil tank cover on his winning car in Las Vegas? In the AutoZone pit zone, Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Hammond will describe exactly what went down and what came off. These guys know their nuts and bolts.
All right, folks, we're down here at the AutoZone pit zone, and Mr. Hammond here is going to explain to you what happened to Carl Edwards' car last week when the oil tank lid fell off.
Let's do that. Let's go to the 360 Ford car. We're going to show you real quick. Here's the lid that's actually from the 99 car. And what happens is when this thing is sealed up, it keeps all the air underneath the race car. That's right. It keeps it trapped underneath there, traveling the way it's supposed to. When you take it off, if it flies off and comes back like it did on the 99 car, it opens up this area. You can see all the way down to the ground and lets that air basically evacuate, makes the car faster, gives all 4 tires a lot more grip.
If that comes off, I know it, because it's right behind my driver's seat. That oil is 300 degrees. I'm going to feel the heat on the back of my neck. I'm going to smell the fumes that are vented out of this thing too. So it came off, but I'm sure if you're a great driver, you're probably so focused on your driving, maybe you didn't know it.
Didn't know it, that's right. Well, that's the way we got it figured out down here in the AutoZone pit zone, folks.
All right, Darrell.
Well, I just hope no one flips their lid today.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if they do, this would be a perfect place for it. But I talked to Jack, and he's not too sure he's going to appeal this thing.
Oh, really? All right, well, we'll watch it closely. All right, let's check in with Larry McReynolds.
Larry McReynolds, it's a pleasure.
And then the forecast will kind of be in the middle. And then
You can see the Atlanta area. You can see this front is pushing through very fast. There's another front behind it. That's the one we're a little bit nervous about tomorrow.
I'm very impressed by all of your weather knowledge.
Oh, I've been watching it a lot, Heather.
Well, yeah, he did kind of yak on a little bit about the weather, and I tried to get in, but I really couldn't. You know, he was okay, but, you know, he might need a little bit more work at sharing some of the speaking time.
At the Weather Channel, they looked at Larry funny when he said, pull the belt tight one more time. All right. Oh, hey, he's got the trophy for the winner of the Kobalt Tools 500.
Great.
You going to leave me something?
Tools. Yeah,
Darrell's going to head up to the
that.
broadcast booth, and we'll count you down and get ready for today's race on Fox. The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. Get ready. This is the 98th race at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Who will be the winner today? Let's head trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the 75th Ranger Regiment, Fort Benning, Georgia, presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as John Newberry from Community Baptist Fellowship Church offers today's invocation.
Let's pray. Father, we love you. Thank you so much for this weather. We thank you for your faithfulness. And Lord, we praise you for the fans and the excitement about the race. And we pray for all the racers and all their families and ask that you protect them, give them safety as they drive today, and encourage them. And Lord, we praise you for the television stations so that they may be a testimony as well. And we ask it all in the glorious name of your Son, Jesus Christ, we do pray. Amen.
Please welcome Arista Nashville recording artist Jason Michael Carroll as he performs our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Let's hear it for Jason Michael Carroll.
Won the first race ever here. They run it fast with great finishes. Will it be Junior, Kyle Busch, Jimmy Johnson, Carl Edwards, Jeff Gordon? Just some on the list for the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox. Welcome back as we get you ready for the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox. Cool to be at a NASCAR race, especially here this weekend at Atlanta Motor Speedway. And in our feature, The Hit List, we find out what the drivers are thinking on a variety of topics. And this week, we wondered who is the coolest driver on the circuit. Who's the hippest driver?
I think we have a few. I think Casey Kane and Dale Jr., they all live the single lives.
Hippest?
With your hair, you might qualify.
Yeah, Tony's getting pretty hip, man, with his hair.
Tony Stewart.
Probably Dale Jr.
Well, like I said, you because of the hair. They said you qualify now.
I'd say someone like Carl Edwards. You know, he flies his own airplane. He's got his own record label.
I don't know yet. You'll have to see.
I mean, Jimmy Johnson, we've been a two-time champion. It's a bit more relaxed and laid back and low-profile person.
I would say Johnson. You know, he dresses well and ends up with some high-profile celebs. Jeff Gordon.
I'd say he's probably one of the more in-style guys I know.
I don't know. I mean, I think Dale Earnhardt Jr., you know, he's kind of cool, and he doesn't even try, though.
Yeah, I'd say Dale Jr., he's in all the cool magazines and stuff all the time.
I always thought that Kyle Petty was sort of the leader of the pack. He's still pretty hip.
Some guys said you.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think any of us said him.
Or hippiest.
Yeah, the hippiest. Now, I would go with the hippiest.
I'm going to give that nod to Junior.
All right, Jeff, how about the coolest, what about the hippest driver of all time, if we take...
well, I would say, maybe all time, but a guy that I used to think was pretty hip had to be Tim Richmond. He was kind of the James Dean of NASCAR for a while.
What about Darrell Waltrip? Back in the day?
Let's move on.
he was cool. I don't know about hip. He could talk back then.
Yeah, he could talk, man. He could talk some smack.
He's up in the booth with the guys, and we're headed there in a moment. What should we look for today?
Well, I think because of the weather itself, it's going to be hot and sunny. The racetrack's going to get slick. And we've already heard that a lot of guys made changes, in particular the guys on the pole, Jeff Gordon. I'm really curious to see whether or not Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s setup is going to work. He may be going straight to the back, or he may lead every lap here.
Yeah, and Jeff Gordon, who's on the pole, as he said, hey, I'm trading information with my teammate Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jimmy Johnson going for his third straight Atlanta win. And then, of course, Carl Edwards going for his third straight win overall.
Oh, I think we got the Battle of Atlanta. I mean, look at it like that. I mean, it's going to be pretty exciting today. This racetrack always produces great racing, no matter whether it comes from the back of the pack or the front of the pack.
We'll go 500 miles here at the Atlanta Motor Speedway, and let's head down on the track for those words we love to hear.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Lowe's Companies, Mr. Robert Niblock, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
Gentlemen, start your engines!
Getting ready for the start of the Kobalt Tools 500 to take us through the race. Your guys, Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, Mike Joy. Hey, Mike.
Good afternoon. Time for our FedEx Racetracks question. It comes from Marvin in Florida, who wants to know, will NASCAR ever take a win away from a team if it fails post-race inspection?
Well, we just recently asked that question, and it pretty much is a Bill France Jr. philosophy who guided our ship for so many years, possibly carried down from his dad, Bill France Sr. They never wanted to let the fans leave the racetrack or turn the television off and find out a day later that someone else won the race. They feel like the penalties they're handing down are certainly substantial enough.
Now, we did once have a scoring dispute right here at Atlanta, but that's a different story. That's not a rules infraction, and that one wasn't settled for several hours later. Fans are encouraged to write in your questions about each track we visit as part of the FedEx Letter of the Week. We'll feature one on the air during our FedEx Racetrack segment. Log on to foxsports.com, keyword FedEx, for more information. Chad Knaus wishing his driver Jimmy Johnson well in his quest for an Atlanta three-peat, but more importantly, to rebound from last week's run at Las Vegas. It's the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox. The engines have fired, and they're ready to roll out for the pace lap. Here is the way they'll line up today. Here's our Kobalt Tools starting grid. With Jeff Gordon and Dale Earnhardt Jr., Hendrick Chevrolet teammates sharing the front row, Darrell.
Let's see how old June Bug feels today. Dale Jr., it's a DW in the Fox Sports booth. You got a copy, bud?
Yes, sir.
Hey, man, you've been looking good every week here, and this is one of your favorites. What can we expect today?
Well, it's going to be slick, but it is one of my favorite tracks. Really enjoyed coming to Atlanta. I don't know what kind of race we're going to have today. Everybody was, had a lot of guys struggling in practice, but we felt like we had a pretty good cars, so let's try to keep it one piece, keep it safe, so we can run hard at the end, have something with equipment-wise we can win the race with at the end.
Junebug, have you found any tire issues this weekend? Been some complaints. How do you feel about the tires for today?
Well, the tire is slicker. I like, just being honest, I like the other tire. But if Goodyear, this car puts a lot more load in the corner on the tire with the bump stops and everything we're using there. So Goodyear had to make a change, and they felt like we adjust to that. But the car was better. If it got more grip, you always kind of like driving on more grip. But I think we'll be fine today.
All right, my man. Good luck, and driver into victory circle today.
All right, man. Thank you.
Goodyear's response is that they have always, if they had to make a change, err on the side of safety rather than competition. But Larry, it presents a challenge for these drivers because this left side tire is a different construction than what they came and tested on.
Yeah, the biggest thing, though, is that right side tire. It's a harder compound. They brought that back here because they saw some wear issues at the test last summer, so they felt like they needed to go to the side of conservative with that tire. But I think this is just going to be one of those aggravating days. You're going to have to stay on top of it, and you would say race the racetrack, but trust me, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, they're going to be up there trying to lead this thing right off the box.
Darrell, the weather has been a challenge. We've had even snow this weekend. The tires may be a bit of a challenge for these drivers, but how much does the way you run at Las Vegas and at Atlanta look ahead and say whether or not you're going to have a good season?
Well, Atlanta's kind of an animal all to itself. I mean, with that high line, and this track's all turns. You got a mile of turns here, little short straightaway, 1,800 feet down the back. So you work hard here, and you work those right side tires harder here than you do a lot of places. So this car's a little heavier on the right side. I could understand why Goodyear came with the package they did, but man, it puts all the effort and all the energy and everything right back in the driver's hands.
A driver's racetrack and 500 miles ahead. Let's have a look at our Kobalt Tools of the race.
All right, first of all, especially late in the race, that sun's going to be right in these guys' eyes going into turn one. It's a late start, so that's going to be a challenge for these guys, especially when we get down to the latter part of this race. Pick the right groove, and you need to find that groove early because you want to make sure you've got the right groove for the end of this race. It may be up high, it may be down low. And then mistake-free pit stop, that final pit stop especially, it's so important you make no mistakes throughout the course of the day. These guys may be making 9 to 10 stops, but as we see week in and week out, the last one is the one you better be spot on.
Ready to race here in Atlanta. Make it a great race day with the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Just turn left and enjoy Budweiser, the great American lager. We are south of the city in Hampton, Georgia, where yesterday was so cold a 1/4 inch of snow accumulated. But let's get word from our pit reporters if it's at least a little warmer and more tolerable today. Let's start with Chris Devoto.
Much warmer, Mike. Hey, I want to talk about Jeff Gordon. When he took that hard hit in Las Vegas, no one's jaw dropped further than his wife, Ingrid. That's where she usually sits. She's not here today, but not because of the wreck. Jeff said she's just watching at home. When he got to the motor coach, she gave him a big hug after the wreck and said, "I'm so glad that you are the best at what you do." To Dr. Dick Berggren.
Greg Biffle is on a roll. Last week, he finished 3rd in the Cup race, 2nd in the nationwide race. Last night, the fastest man in happy hour, the final practice. This racetrack demands car control, and nobody's better at car control than Greg Biffle. The 16 will be good today, Steve Burns.
Well, Dick, like everybody else, Kyle Busch in the 18 car having a tough time getting these tires hooked up to the racetrack. He won the truck race Friday night, would have won the nationwide race yesterday if not for a broken shock mount. I asked his crew chief, Steve Addington, what's your tuning adjustment here? And he goes, simple, Kyle Busch, Matt.
Matt Kenseth is like every champion starting in 2001, just looking to rebound from a very rough Las Vegas. It's been an up and down weekend for Kenseth. Yes, he won Saturday's nationwide race, but struggled in qualifying and after a transmission change, has to go to the back. And oh yes, he got beat by his son Ross playing Madden this morning, so he's looking for a big Sunday. Jack Roush says our car, the 17, is just as good as the 99, and that's saying something, Mike.
Ready to race for 500 miles.
And Matt Kenseth will have to drop to the rear of the field because they changed transmissions this morning. Well, DW, we're back from our little West Coast vacation. We're back in the South. There's not a cloud in the sky. Reach up there and pull those belts tight one more time.
And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys!
Nobody's yet taken their seat as Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads lap 1.
The green flags are waving.
I think that was a big deal to Junior, though. I think he wanted to get that first lap. You saw how hard he raced Jeff down in 3 and 4. I think he knew once he got out front, maybe adios for a while.
Of course, he gets those 5 points for leading that lap. All you have to do is lead a lap to get 5 bonus points.
Larry, we heard Jeff Hammond say, actually we heard Jeff Gordon say this morning in his driver interview we did with him that they changed the car quite a bit, and I tell you, they got a lot of information from the cat leading the race.
Because he was very happy with his car in that final practice. Said it's close, boys. We just need a little fine tuning.
3rd place side by side. Here comes Rowdy Busch in that number 18 bright silver and red flames, and he whips past Martin Truex and into third. He's pretty much dominated the weekend of competition here so far.
Yeah, won the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race Friday night, just going away yesterday and had a tire issue, but we have not determined, and the team has not determined, that it was absolutely a tire failure. Something may have broke on that race car.
Well, Larry, when I looked at the replay yesterday of what happened, I saw a shock absorber laying on the racetrack. I'm pretty sure he had a failure of some kind and cut that tire down. Just the way it looked, it didn't look like a blown out tire.
I believe it was Steve Burns who said it was a broken shock mount, Darrell.
I'd say he's right.
Carl Edwards coming. He's got Martin Truex, and that will put last week's winner into fourth place. And the 99. Here's this week's debut of Digger.
You better go back in your little hole, buddy.
Our Fox Gopher Cam.
Little Digger. Duck, baby.
Dale Jr. is picking him up, putting him down. He has now opened up in 5 laps a lead over Jeff Gordon of 1.4 seconds.
Yeah, he's a couple of tenths quicker right now than Jeff Gordon is. And, of course, I'm sure you attribute a lot of that to just being out front with nobody in your way. A lot of clean air. These cars really like that.
That's what you love about this racetrack. A lot of racetracks we go to, it takes well into the race before that top groove opens up. We pretty much knew Dale Earnhardt Jr., especially down in turn 1 and 2, he would be running the high line. He's a little lower in 3 and 4 right now.
You mentioned Matt Kenseth starting at the back. He's passed 8 cars already, so he's got a good car, but a long way to go to get there.
But he better get going. Let me tell you why. Dale Jr. is running in the 30s, 30.7, 30.8. These cats back here near the back of the field, they're running 32 seconds. He's going to be around looking at their rear bumper here real soon, so they better get going.
Michael Waltrip struggling a bit with the handling. There's the wall. That's struggling.
Struggled it right into the wall.
The lap before, he almost got into David Gilliland. Let's show you that.
Car's just pushing right there. He pushes up and tries to cut it off and keep it off of Gilliland, and so now he says, I'll get up a little higher. I need a little more room, and runs out of room up there.
Yeah, he just ran completely out of grip right against the wall.
Car looks like it just won't turn for him.
He built that Pinewood Derby car for his daughter Macy yesterday, and he said that was loose. A tire change tightened it up, and she ran much better.
Well, he better come get him 4 then. Maybe even 6.
Right now, Michael's back in the 39th position right behind his teammate Dale Jarrett. Dave Blaney in the 22 car. He started back in 16th. He has moved up to the 12th position. It's pretty much been a driver a week that's been sick. We had Kurt Busch at Daytona. We had Ryan Newman, Casey Kane last week. Dave Blaney has been fighting the flu all weekend long. Actually, Mike Bliss practiced the car most of yesterday. Talked to Tommy Baldwin Jr., his crew chief, said, you know what, Dave's feeling a lot better, but Mike Bliss will be in the pit standing by for Dave.
Back up front, Dale Earnhardt Jr. now 2.7 seconds ahead of his teammate Jeff Gordon as we complete 10 laps next time around. Dick Berggren, what's the leader saying about the racetrack?
He's saying that the bottom is too slick. We're used to seeing Junior upstairs anyway, but if he thinks the bottom is slick, for sure that's where we're going to find him.
And you know what, Doc? I can't. These cars are already, they've lost 2 seconds in speed just from the start of the race. That's how quickly these tires are going away.
But this is what always happens here in the early part of the race. Right now, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is almost a half a second a lap faster than his teammate Jeff Gordon in the 24.
And you know who knows that better than anybody? Regan Smith, Kyle Petty, Jeremy Mayfield, because they're at the back of the pack.
And Jeff Gordon says that green dot's getting smaller and smaller.
The Kobalt Tools 500 Odd Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's, let's build something together. By the Ford F-150, built Ford tough. By Sprint, welcome to the 2008 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series. Speed is beautiful. And by State Farm, great service, great rates, nobody takes care of you like State Farm.
16 laps in, Dale Earnhardt Jr. still leads. Robin Joy, no relation. The grand prize winner, the Kobalt Tools Test Drive and Win Sweepstakes, won the right to wave the green over this field. 16 laps ago. We've had a couple of them into the wall. Joe Nemechek, one of those, although he continues without damage. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is now 6 seconds out in front of the new second-place car, and that would be Kyle Busch.
But, Mike, I'm looking at these lap times, and, folks, this is not a knock on this car, but we're about 3 seconds slower in the race right now than we were a year ago here. Qualifying speeds were down like 8 miles an hour. That's not a bad thing. I'm not knocking the car. Slow racing, I mean, you just want to be better than the other guys. That's all that really matters. But the car is that much slower.
Tell you what, we were talking about Dale Earnhardt Jr. being the fastest car out there by half a second, but all of a sudden, this cat right here has come to life. Steve Burns looks like the 18 looked like he did yesterday in the Nationwide Series race.
Yeah, Larry Mack, just listening and talk to crew chief Steve Addington. He says in 1 and 2, he's a little bit tight, but he's just a little loose on the exit of that end of the racetrack.
He led 153 of the first 170 laps in yesterday's race. So it's Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards has passed Jeff Gordon now for third, as Gordon has slipped to fourth spot. Ahead of Kevin Harvick, there's Busch Lufus off the corner. Here is Carl Edwards, and Carl gave his team quite a big thank you over the in-car radio before this race went green.
All right, everybody, thanks for all the hard work this week. I know a little bit of adversity, but really appreciate you, Robbie and Chris, for stepping up and helping us out. Let's just have a good, fun day, guys. We'll be great. I really appreciate it.
A 100-point penalty for driver and owner, $100,000 fine, and 6-week suspension for crew chief Bob Osborne because the cover on the oil tank reservoir compartment came off during the race, and that is a serious infraction.
But I love Carl. How the team goes is how the driver goes. The driver says, okay, boys, let's put that behind us. Let's forget about that. We got a race to run today. He's cheerleader. He's pumping the team up. That's a great deal.
And just to be clear, Jack Roush, the team owner, majority owner of Roush Fenway Racing, has not appealed the penalty. He has 10 days from the date of the penalty announcement to do so, but so far no decision on whether they will appeal.
Yeah, about the time we check into Bristol later on in the week, that's when they have the deadline to file their appeal.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is letting it all hang out.
He's rim riding, I can tell you that.
Well, that rim is steel, and it's the safer barrier.
You can hear him.
Just kissed it a little
I
bit.
like it. Kiss me some money.
Junior started second today. The spring Atlanta race has not been won from second starting position since 1988. His dad did it.
How about that? His dad loved this place.
I mean, the side's going to be pretty hard to fix without making it spin out, Junior.
Jeff Gordon started up front. He's been holding station at fourth, but now he's in the clutches of Kevin Harvick.
But by the same token, I just listened to that transmission from Tony Jr. to Dale Jr. We can't fix what you're complaining about. If we do, we're going to make the car spin out. So drive it like it is.
Sometimes that crew chief has to be a little bit of a salesman.
Oh, yeah.
He's looking at the stopwatch. He's looking at the other competitors. On qualifying day, you're racing the stopwatch. On race day, you're racing the competitor.
Now, Darrell, in practice, you like the way that Kevin Harvick's car was down in the racetrack. Steve Burns is in Harvick's pit.
Mike, Kevin Harvick just told his crew chief Todd Berrier, when I give it the gas, it shoves the nose up.
And I think that's the tightrope that everybody's going to be walking all day long. That goes right back to Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Eury Jr. If the car's a little free, we got to be careful because we can over adjust. It's real easy to jump the fence with your adjustments with this car.
I think the thing I see about Harvick's car is, and I saw it in practice, I mean, you can see how low the whole car is. They've got that whole car front to rear really, really sucked down into the racetrack.
Denny Hamlin in ninth place, chasing Martin Truex. Krista?
Denny Hamlin running very strong right now. In fact, a couple of laps ago, he was the fastest car on the track. He started 22nd in this race. He was already up to 11 by lap 11. Currently, like you said, Mike, running ninth. And this is pretty typical for this team. History has shown they're usually very good early in the race running the bottom, but then they start fighting through the middle portion. So we'll see how things turn out for the 11 of Denny Hamlin. Right now, smooth sailing.
Makes the pass on Martin Truex. And that'll move Hamlin up to 8th.
Definitely Denny Hamlin and Tony Stewart started deep in the field, but both of them look to be moving forward at a pretty good pace. And right now, their teammate Kyle Busch, I think he's basically got about the fastest car on the racetrack right now.
You ever been roller skating?
Been a while.
That's what these things look like coming off the court. like these guys are on roller skates.
Keep your balance. 26 laps complete.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV puts you behind the wheel. 32 caution-free laps at Atlanta Motor Speedway in the Kobalt Tools 500. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has led every one of them. Kyle Busch trying to close, but he's mired about 3.7 seconds behind Jr. in second. Carl Edwards, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, and Matt Kenseth. We talked earlier. He could be in trouble, and he, despite starting in the back with a fast car after a transmission change, he's gone a lap down.
Yeah, it's just like we've got 3 or 4 cars that have really hit it right now, and everybody else is wanting a caution pretty bad right now.
And I think that's what this car is capable of. If you get it right, you're going to make everybody else look really bad.
So Junior, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards running in third, with an interim crew chief, Robbie Reiser. His crew chief, Bob Osborne, under suspension. And Robbie Reiser's been a crew chief, and he's won the Nextel Cup with Matt Kenseth. In fact, Matt Kenseth's the only driver Robbie's ever had. So let's excuse Robbie for this communication from the pit box to Carl.
3280. We're about halfway through the fuel run here, Matt, or Carl.
but you're right. You know,
it'll take me a little time here. We'll be all right.
but that's absolutely right. I mean, they ran for Rookie of the Year in Sprint Cup back in 2000, and they were nationwide series for 2 or 3 years together. I think you're right, Mike. I don't think Robbie Reiser has ever been on a pit box with anybody but Matt Kenseth.
Do you know what I see? I know right now we're strung out and cars going a lap down and all that. This race is going to get interesting as we go forward. When these guys get a chance to come to the pit road and make some adjustments on these cars, I think you're going to see some guys that are really struggling right now come alive, and that's going to be interesting to see some of these guys get a lap back.
Hey, you heard Robbie Reiser tell Carl Edwards about halfway through a fuel run. We didn't get a chance to go through that before the green flag. A fuel run here is about 50 to 54 laps. I get a feeling they may short pit a little early. There you see both the Red Bull cars made the show. Of course, the 83 car, Brian Vickers. Mike Skinner qualifying that 84 car for the first time this year. He's getting them both in one lick here. So he has about half the field down a lap now.
That's a lot of energy right there in one little package.
Well, they were trying to keep from going a lap down, but Dale Jr. is setting a blistering pace.
He really
Only
is.
the 20 cars behind him are still on the lead lap. Decent run early for Casey Kane. He's been a top 10 car all day, but even Kane right now is half a lap behind the leader. Caution is waving.
Got debris in two over there somewhere.
And that's the reason why we're under the first caution of the day at 38 laps.
So I think it may have been a battle between the Red Bull cars to see who gets the free pass here as we get the caution on lap 38.
And we'll wait for confirmation, but our scoring indicates Brian Vickers will be the first car 1 lap down, so he'll get the free pass and be back on the lead lap when we resume.
Now watch this. When these guys that are lap down, they're going to line up on the inside. It's like a whole new restart.
Vickers is confirmed as the recipient of the free pass. There he is right behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. And that will leave these drivers a lap down. Casey Mears, Mike Skinner, David Rudiman, Dave Blaney, Jamie McMurray, Dale Jarrett, Reed Sorensen, Elliott Sadler, Michael Waltrip a lap down, Robbie Gordon, Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch, and 10 more.
But pit road will be a very, very busy place. Of course, everyone will come and get Sunoco race fuel, 4 Goodyear race tires, and I'm sure adjustments on a lot of these race cars.
Ooh, I'll say.
Cars on the lead lap pit. The first lap the pit road is open, and here they come. to Matt.
Mike, Carl Edwards said the car was just so loose, it was just shaking its guts out. Now he's got a different crew chief on top of the box, different colored uniforms of his over-the-wall pit crew guys. Air pressure adjustment is how they're going to try to fix this car, Steve.
And a lot of adjustments for Kyle Busch, track bar, wedge, and air pressure. He says he's loose in, loose landing, and loose on the gas on exit, Dick.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. is out of here. 4 tires, no changes, Krista.
Clint Boyer turning very good lap times, but he said it's taking too long for his car to come to him. No rear grip. He's loose in and off. Meanwhile, the 24 of Jeff Gordon says, I don't know what to do to make it better. Tight is our problem. We need to roll through the middle.
Dale Jr. and Kyle Busch lead our DirecTV race off pit road by a wide margin.
Greg Biffle, that 16 group with Greg Irwin, had all kinds of problems, but they finally get it off the pit road.
First caution of the day in the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox. Casey Kane inadvertently led a lap under that caution flag because he tried to come onto pit road, said he wheel hopped it. Look at him coming into the pit road picture right there behind the blue car of Ryan Newman. Wheel hopped it, and instead of hitting Newman, shot across, missed the commitment cone because hitting that's a violation. So he stayed out, got 5 points for leading a lap.
Remember, he comes in here third in the points, only 26 points behind Kyle Busch, the leader.
Looks like we're ready for our Clareton Clear to Drive restart. Live Clareton Clear, indoors and out.
I think Robbie Reiser's down there right now scratching his head saying, what does he mean when it says it's shaking its guts out?
I'm not sure how to fix that.
I'm not sure if I know what to do with that.
Now, our girls and guys down in the pits give us a lot of information. Said Jeff Gordon is way too tight. Feels like they're in big trouble right now. Kevin Harvick, after 38 laps on a set of tires, said he was showing a little bit of cord in the right front when they took those tires off.
We're back under green with 41 laps complete. Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards just the way they were before the caution. Kevin Harvick, the new 4th place car. Jeff Gordon 5th, climbing the hill and under fire from the 07 of Boyer.
Got a lot of guys here fighting to get that lap back or be the first car 1 lap down. You know, I think we're in Atlanta in honor of a beautiful Sunday afternoon. What do you think?
No snow.
Let's crank it up.
Second chapter of this story looks much like the first. Dale Earnhardt Jr. giving the field the goodbye look, but for Kyle Busch, who's able to hang with him.
He will be. Kyle Busch is there now. I think he'll be able to hang with him. But listen, you know, we talk about these cars. I said how slow these cars are. You know where they're slow at? Not on the straightaway. They're still 200-mile-an-hour straightaway cars. They're just slower through the turns.
You know, 2 or 3 cars I've been watching. Tony Stewart, you see him in the black and orange number 20 car up there. He started back in the 32nd position. He has worked his way to 11th. He was almost there before that caution. And then right behind him, you see Jimmy Johnson in the 48. I will guarantee you, Matt Yoakum, they made some heavy adjustments on that car.
Larry Mack, Ron Malik, the car chief, probably has wedge-itis as many rounds as they made adjustments on this 48 car. But the biggest issue that they've been fighting all weekend long, when they fix one problem, they hurt the car in another area. Jimmy says it's almost like when you're racing at Rockingham or Darlington, just how much this car is sliding loose.
I'd say that's why they'll be to pit road every chance they get. Every time a yellow waves, it won't be any strategy. It'll be 4
really
tires and I'm sure adjustments.
Doing awesome.
I think we'll know about
next position is the 1 car.
I think we'll know about this 48 team and what the future holds for them on a day like today. because they really are known for making their car better, making the right adjustments and getting it better, always gearing it toward the end of the race. Today will be a good test for them.
You've heard Stevie Reeves up on the roof, Jimmy's spotter. The night before the Daytona 500, his grandmother slipped and fell at home, braced herself so she wouldn't fall against the wall, kind of like Jimmy almost did right there. And Steve's dad said, "Do you want me to take you to the hospital? You want me to take you for x-rays?" "No, no, Daytona 500's tomorrow. I'm not going. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to watch the Daytona 500. She went to the hospital Monday. Her arm was broken, but she was not going to miss the Daytona 500.
That's what you call a trooper. I have figured out since last week, Horton is a movie that's coming out. Caught me off guard last week.
Jim Carrey, Steve Carell, all-star cast as that Dr. Seuss book comes to the big screen.
Carol Burnett, she's in
Yes.
this movie.
Well, one thing we can't accuse Atlanta of being, Darrell, and that's a line-sensitive racetrack. They are spread from the bottom to the top of this place.
No, you know, today they're just doing the slide job. They go in the corner and just let her slide, and hopefully nobody's in your way and you get her caught before she hits the wall, because these cars are really slip sliding all over the place. And we've seen this all weekend. The drivers have complained about that with the car here this weekend.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads 50 laps in this race when he comes past the start-finish line. Twice in his career, he's led more than 100 laps here. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Is sponsored by Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager.
Casey Kane, after his pit stop, remember he stopped after everyone else on the lead lap, so right now he's back in 18th. 22 cars are on the lead lap, and Kyle Busch had made serious inroads on Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s lead, cutting it to 0.7 of a second. And then Kyle, coming off turn 4, almost got himself a piece of the wall, and he's backed it off a bit, Darrell.
Yeah, had him a whoops. The thing really got out from under him, and I think right now he's just kind of getting his breath and regrouping a little bit. He'll come back, though. That car is pretty fast. Watch this. That's really in most people's mind, that'd be out of control. With him, that's just fun.
If we show replays of things like that about him, our show will be constant replays all day long, I guarantee you.
I just hope he doesn't decide he wants to pass on the apron today. And I got to explain that one more time to folks that don't understand. Daytona and Talladega, inside line, out of bounds. Everywhere else, go wherever you like. It's up to you. But it'd be nice if you used the racetrack every now and then.
Casey Kane led that one lap under caution. Otherwise, it's been all Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the first 58 laps of this race. We're at 117 of the 500 miles.
Now it looks like Kyle is starting to reel Dale Earnhardt Jr. back in. The last 3 or 4 laps, ever since that situation off turn 4, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was beating him about a 10th or 10th and a half a lap. Now Kyle is making another run at him.
What happens, Larry, is you get up there and you get really, you really want to get after it and catch him, and you overdrive the car. Then you got to slow down and say, okay, I got to back off a little bit earlier. I got to take it a little bit easier, and you see him go by right here. That's all it was. He just regrouped, said, I'm overdriving the car. Got to back off. Now here he comes.
New leader, Kyle Busch, who won Friday night, dominated Saturday afternoon, and goes to the lead Sunday for the first time at lap 60.
And I'm not so sure that Junior just didn't say, look, he's making me drive way too hard right now. Let him go.
And the reason we're showing this on the right-hand side of your screen, I've been watching Juan Pablo Montoya in the 42 car there. If you go back to last year, this was the type of racetrack he really prevailed at. He loves running the high line, even though he's right around the bottom right now. But remember, go back a year ago, Dick, this is where he got his very first top 5.
He did, and he was absolutely dazzling here last year as well, and doing a terrific job of it right now. He started this race in the 19th position. He is currently running in 13th. They did a fair bit of work on this car to try to get it right. The tire, everybody knows, does not have a lot of grip. This morning, his crew chief, Donnie Wingo, told me that he could make the car loose, he could make the car push. The only thing he wasn't able to do was make it happy. Looks like he's got that job done today for his driver, Juan Pablo.
And we watched him in yesterday's final practice. The only practice yesterday is he kind of just slides it. He had the best 10-lap average of anyone yesterday.
And then what happens inevitably with the situation like we got here this weekend, by Sunday morning, I can't tell you how many times you go through the garage area, you go through the motor coach slot, talk to other drivers, talk to other crew chiefs, you come up with the magic setup.
Wow. Denny Hamlin seems to have found it. He just went past Jeff Gordon for 5th place and joins our list of Toyota top performers.
I think if Denny Hamlin can ever get caught up with those top 3 or 4 guys, I think he can give them a run for the money. You know, go back to the fall race. Remember, he was leading on the last restart and had water in his fuel and got ran over by Martin Truex Jr. But he has a good car here, it looks like.
Yeah, and he needs a good run. They've had their fair share of bad luck so far this year.
By the way, that water in the fuel situation was traced not to the tanks that are used as part of the permanent fuel installation here, but there was a remote fueling setup down at the other end of pit road using a tractor trailer and the compartments in that tank. And there was some water apparently in one compartment that got into the lines and affected several cars. Sunoco officials have since changed their procedures for using that type of equipment, and that should certainly prevent a recurrence. This is the 4th race of 2008. 1 driver's led all 4. Guess who?
Oh, the plot thickens. Stay tuned for more NASCAR on Fox.
Fox Sports welcomes you back to the Kobalt Tools 500 from Atlanta. Glad to have you along with us this Sunday afternoon. Kyle Busch, your leader, and looking on board in the 31 car of Jeff Burton, who is working his way in the top 10. And time for an AT&T race break as see Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Carl Edwards in a battle for 2nd place. Kyle Busch, who came in as the Sprint Cup points leader, has yet to win this year, but is leading this race and has led the most laps so far this year, with Carl Edwards running right behind him. With Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, a quick little recap here. Turn 2, difficult in the early going here. Michael Waltrip and then Nemechek going in at maybe 195 miles per hour, coming out at about 155. David Gilliland and the leader, Dale Earnhardt Jr., for most of this, shot out of the start like he was in a marquee jet, a smooth, fast ride, led 59 of the first 60 laps, trying to end that winless streak of 65 races. But Jeff Hammond, the handling of the cars so far, as Darrell Waltrip has alerted to, worth watching.
Worth watching for sure, because they're not a pretty race car on this racetrack, in my opinion. Even the leader right now, when you take a look at Kyle Busch, that car is wobbling all over the places, jumping out from under him, but he's up on the wheel right now, Chris. Darrell has talked about you've got to drive this race car, and right now I think you're seeing what this young man's talent's all about. Early on, Dale Jr., he was up on top of the wheel, leading a lot of laps. Carl Edwards is charging up through the field. It's all about the wheel man today, because there's not going to be a really good handling race car here at this racetrack. The way the tires are, the racetrack's getting warm, it's hot and slick. So it's really going to come down to how bad do you really want it.
The pole sitter, Jeff Gordon, currently 7th. Any surprises early that are hanging around? Denny Hamlin, Clint Boyer, guys who needed to have good races are up there.
Well, I think so far, you know, we're kind of like expecting guys to do this. Jeff Gordon starting to warn me a little bit. He's been falling back, kind of just hanging in there. They need to work on that 24 car, get him back up there where he can challenge for the lead. But when you see Ryan Newman, Jimmy Johnson, Bobby Labonte, they're all doing a great job. We've already talked about Juan Pablo Montoya, but you got to get a call out that Scott Riggs kid. Their 66 car's been doing really good also. But right now, Mr. Gordon and Steve Letarte, they need to do a little bit more magic in this 24 car, because he's still not where he needs to be.
And here are the top 4 car numbers picked by our viewers to win today's race. Watch our pre-race coverage each week to play. It's been your AT&T race break. Currently, Kevin Harvick, Mike, running 4th. Of course, he had his first career win here, but this is one of the worst of finishing tracks, at least average-wise, for him over his career.
Harvick in 4th, 5 seconds off the lead, as you saw Jeff Burton give up that 8th spot to Martin Truex in the back straightaway, and without contest. Burton is He is such a chess player, a thinking man's racer. You won't see him race you, just as Ryan Newman just pulled over for Tony Stewart. Stewart caught him. Newman says, you go right on ahead. I'll be there later.
And you can go fast in this car if you're willing to take the chance. What I see with this car is it's all over the place. You take somebody like Kyle Busch, he kind of likes it. It says, this is fun, man. I'm hanging on, I'm sliding, I'm sideways. Take somebody like a Jeff Burton, he's going to say, I'm going to slow this bad boy down. I'm not going to get myself in that position in case something, so I have some control.
Wow, Carl Edwards got in front of Dale Jr. and that car went loose.
Gave him a signal out the driver's window there to go on by, dude.
Yeah, enough of that.
It wasn't that many laps ago that Carl Edwards drove by Dale Earnhardt Jr. So either Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car, he figured something out, or I believe Carl Edwards, his car is going away as he's following into the clutches now of Kevin Harvick in the 29.
Dick?
Well, I'm in Earnhardt's pit, Mike, and Earnhardt a few laps ago said, how did we get that loose? He has also loosened up in his car, and no doubt some of this has to do with the temperature out here. It has gotten very nice and warm out here. Matt.
Carl Edwards just told his team, he says, look, if we can tighten my car up just a little bit, we are going to be super fast. But he's just lost another spot to Kevin Harvick.
Now, speaking of Kevin Harvick, remember, after 38 laps a while ago when they pitted on lap 39, it was reported Steve Burns said he had a little bit of cord showing on the right front tire. Steve was telling me during a break what they did to help that car turn a little bit is they just took a little bit of air pressure out of both front tires. That decreases the spring rate and will help that car to turn. Looks like they've definitely made it better, and we're about 13 or 14 laps away from a green flag stop.
Jamie McMurray has just made his stop under green as Kyle Busch leaves the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox.
You're over here. There's a Kobalt cannon here at the Kobalt 500. Who wants a t-shirt?
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by FedEx. Every day is race day. By the new KFC Toasted Wrap. It's not done until it's toasted. And by Toyota, moving forward.
83 laps complete. Kyle Busch has led 24 of them. Dale Earnhardt Jr. 58. Casey Kane has led a lap, and we're within 10 laps of scheduled green flag pit stops. Two drivers have already been gigged by the speeding police on pit road. Jamie McMurray was one of them, and J.J. Yaley on his first pit stop the other. Caution flag flies. Debris, which was on the backstretch, made its way to turn 3 up in the groove, so second caution of the day.
And there's several guys that really, they were definitely looking for that. Greg Biffle, Scott Riggs, Brian Vickers, they were just about to go a lap down to Kyle Busch. And as you mentioned, yeah, we were within about 8 to 9 laps of what would be our first green flag stops of the day.
So we have 17 cars on the lead lap. Paul Menard will make 18. He will be the free pass car under this second caution of the afternoon. And Darrell, our pit reporters told us during the break, I've never heard so many different descriptions of my car is junk than we've just heard.
Well, what happened on that first stop in, everybody complained about being tight. So when the driver says he's tight, what do? You loosen him up. Now what are the drivers complaining about?
Loose.
Now I'm loose. So we got to play that game here for a little while. Tight, loose, tight, loose. Maybe we'll get it right before the day's over with.
So now we've got, with Paul Menard getting the free pass, we'll have 18 cars on the lead lap. Pit road is much more crowded. The second time, that's when everybody one or more laps down makes a pit stop.
Now it begs the question, it was 25 degrees colder when they practiced here yesterday, but don't you have a way to compensate for that and anticipate on a day that's nearly 60 degrees what conditions are going to be like versus practice when it was 35 degrees.
And we talked about that yesterday during that hour-and-a-half practice, that these guys definitely had to have a game plan, knowing absolutely the forecast was calling for much warmer temperatures.
Can you hit a curveball? Pretty hard to hit, and that's what these guys have had thrown at them ever since testing here last year. They came here, tested on the tire that we ran here last year. That got the car going in one direction. Came back, made another tire test in December. These guys show back up, they don't know what they got.
Larry, you're going to have to visit the Weather Channel more often because whatever weather there could be here in Atlanta, we have had it this weekend.
That's pretty much got it all covered right there. But the good news is there's not a cloud in the sky today, and here comes about 17 cars coming to pit road. Matt Yoakum.
And Carl Edwards told me at driver interest his car was about a 9 on a scale of 1 to 10. It was tight the first run, loose this run as he slides to a stop. Look for a slight track bar adjustment. for Edwards. Let's go further up pit road to Steve.
Matt, Kyle Busch says the forward bite's pretty good, but he needs more rear stability, so they'll make an air pressure adjustment. You see Kevin Harvick in the bottom left. He said he's loose everywhere, Dick.
Junior pits out of the second position. 4 tires, a minor change in the chassis. He has nobody in front of him, and he's gone. Krista.
Denny Hamlin said the adjustment on the last stop helped his pickup, but now he is tight in the center. The splitter is hitting. The crew had a great stop. High fives all around in the 11 pit.
Krista, they should, because they definitely beat 2 or 3 cars off pit road, talking about Denny Hamlin, Mike Ford in the 11.
Here's the debris that was up in turn number 3 that has put us under the second caution of the afternoon. You're watching NASCAR on Fox. No shortage of action in Bristol.
I love this place.
Checkers or wreckers?
Going to blow a bumpers run here. Going to drag race to the finish line. Yes. Kyle Busch in the 5.
NASCAR rolls into Thunder Valley next weekend. You'll want to be there, and you'll want to have NASCAR Love as your ringtone on your phone. Text RACE to 75555 or go to jamster.com, keyword RACE for details. You can download the full song at iTunes.
It's a hot number. It's like 150, 200 with a bullet.
Well, right now the hot number is 18. That's the number on the roof of Kyle Busch's Camry as he leads Dale Earnhardt Jr., Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and pole sitter Jeff Gordon down for the flag for this restart to begin lap 90.
These restarts are really, really treacherous for these old boys when you got guys trying to get a lap back and these things sliding around the way they are. Best thing you can do is do like Kyle's doing and say adios.
Nice move by Hamlin. He went 3 wide to get past Junior for second.
He timed it just right. Now, Denny Hamlin's definitely been the car on the move. Remember, he started back in 22nd position. As we look at this gaggle of cars back there, this is a battle from about 11th on back. Did get a report, though, that 11 cars said, hey, I was pushed it awfully hard. Almost 50 laps that run. His right front tire showed just a little bit of blister.
4 wide for a moment, and Newman had to back out of it to save his 12th place car. He lost a spot to Montoya in the process.
That was some of the best 4-wide racing I've ever seen in Atlanta. And those,
she's not quite wide enough.
That particular group seems to be able to do it more often than not.
It's not over. It's not over.
These guys want to take advantage of those new fresh tires that just got put on.
I tell you, that's what you'll see. That's what I was saying about this race. As it goes along and people keep adjusting up, you're going to see some of these cars get better and better. One thing I have noticed, though, look at this. You got Kyle Busch leading. You got his teammate Denny Hamlin running second, and you got Tony Stewart running 9th. That's Gibbs cars. Then you've got you got the 3 Childress cars. You got the 29 and the 07 and the 31 all in the top 10. A lot of teammates obviously sharing a lot of good information.
Now we're riding with Dale Jarrett right now in the 44 car. Dale is actually 1 lap down, but you're looking at Brian Vickers in the 83 car. He's actually on the lead lap. He got the free pass on that first caution.
Everybody's trying to get in position for the free pass on the next caution. Matt Kenseth was doing some neat slicing and dicing. Here he is on the bottom, and he's flying, Matt, trying to get in position to get his lap back.
Jack Roush told me before the race, Mike, that he really felt like the 17 was one of the best cars they have, but they have definitely missed it. Kenseth says he's not scraping the front splitter. Feels like he's got 3,000 pounds of spring across the front. They've made a number of adjustments, and it just really has not seemed to help.
And I can't help but think when I look at Casey Kane in that 9 car. Casey had a good car at the start of the race. Remember, on that first caution, the miscue getting to pit road, he had to restart at the back of the pack, and it's like he just couldn't work his way up through there. Next thing you know, he was a lap down.
18 cars on the lead lap right now. David Reagan is 19th. He's in position for the free pass, and Casey Kane 20th. Kyle Busch the leader. Denny Hamlin surrenders second to Dale Earnhardt Jr. What's up with Hamlin, Krista?
Well, Mike, despite that last great stop, Denny really has the same problem he had before he had come in. Tight in the center, real tight is what he just said a few laps ago. He said his splitter is still hitting, but the crew actually did a great job. I mentioned that on that stop. They've done a great job all weekend. If you remember, Denny Hamlin was not good in practice. They pretty much turned this car around.
Well, again, Krista, I think it's that teammate thing, because Hamlin's running great, so is Tony, and you got Kyle out there leading the race. So obviously they're sharing information and helping each other with their car.
But I tell you, Denny Hamlin, that 11, they've got to be careful. Remember, I just had talked about, Krista had told us his right front tire showed a little bit of wear, a little bit of blister. If that car's pushing the nose, it's going to aggravate that.
Yeah, it probably will. But Larry, you know, I know you probably get tired of me saying this, but tire wear will always improve in the race.
Because more rubber gets down.
You and I should have worked together, Larry. I could have taken, you would still have hair if we'd have worked together. Because all the things that you worry about, I would have said, don't worry about that. I'll take care of it. Don't worry.
But that's what Earnhardt was telling me, and the hair still kept falling out.
Matt Kenseth has passed his Roush Fenway teammate David Reagan, and Kenseth is now the first car one lap down. So should a caution come out, he'd be back on the lead lap.
And Matt Kenseth, I just think a lot what happened to him was the same thing we were talking about Casey Kane in the 9. He qualified bad, had to go to the rear of the field because of changing the transmission. Remember, that's the guy that won the Nationwide Series race yesterday, and I just think the car was a little bit off in the beginning, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. put him a lap down before you knew it.
That's your worst nightmare, when somebody starts up front that can just fly, and you're marred back in traffic, can't go anywhere. You worry about going a lap down, and that's what happened to him. I think he can get it back.
Up front, Kyle Busch has 2 seconds on Dale Earnhardt Jr. Steve?
Mike, this morning I asked his crew chief, Steve Addington, if he had a hard time keeping Kyle calmed down. He said in testing and in practice, Kyle runs the car 125% because he wants to find out just how much the car can take. But he said once the race starts, Kyle dials it back a notch.
Yeah, so now it's 110. I've never seen any. I've seen him race here 3 nights. The Craftsman trucks, the Nationwide yesterday, and again today. I've never seen him lay down. He is on it all the time. He's not conservative. That could be his Achilles heel when you talk about can he win a championship. He's going to have to learn to dial it back a little bit. Got a great car. You don't have to run it that hard right now.
And the record books normally don't talk a lot about how much you won the race, just the fact you won the race.
Or about who led the most laps if you didn't win. So Kyle Busch up front. Now Dale Earnhardt Jr. starting to come back to the leader now, Dick. 1.6 seconds is the gap.
And Junior's car is pretty good, Mike. It says it's just a little bit free in. That's the only thing he has said about the behavior of the car, other than he needs some help on restarts. He's not restarting as well as some of the others. His cousin Tony Eury Jr., the crew chief, said he'll take care of that next pit stop.
The good thing about being loose in, and we heard this all weekend long here, is you can back the corner up just a little bit. You don't have to drive it in as hard if that's the only problem you're trying to solve until they can make adjustments.
That ain't really any better, dog. Nowhere. All right, 10-4.
I'm just not really sure how a crew chief could help you on a restart.
I'm not real sure about that one either. And just go back to last week on that last restart. Now, we know he had old tires on, but that's actually what caused the bottleneck that promoted the wreck on the back straightaway.
I'll keep an eye on that one.
And if they give us an answer, we'll be happy to know that one, right?
I'd like to know what Tony Jr. was thinking, how he's going to help me with my restart.
You know, Darrell, you were talking about those Childress cars just a minute ago. Clint Boyer in this 07 car, he just drives by Jeff Gordon. That was a battle for 5th, but we still, as you mentioned, we've got the 3 Childress cars up there in the top 9 right now.
There's just some tracks you go to where you know there's some teams you can't count out. And we know what Kevin Harvick can do here at Atlanta. He had a great run yesterday, finished second to Matt. Then the Childress cars always, with Dale through the years, they always ran well here at Atlanta.
And the Gibbs cars, especially back when Bobby Labonte drove for Joe, have had a ton of success here. They are leading here, and Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch's teammate, has now climbed into the top 10.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Coca-Cola Zero. Real Coke taste, 0 calories. Enjoy Cokeness. By Aflac. Aflac and Carl Edwards want you to be an all-star. And by DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass only on DirecTV puts you behind the wheel.
DirecTV brings you today's aerial coverage of the race. Your ticket for the most sports in HD, DirecTV. 108 laps complete. Carl Edwards coming after Jeff Gordon. This battle is for 6th place.
It's just like the longer a run is, the more that 24 car goes away, the handling on it. They've got to get pretty serious, I think, with adjustments on that car, Darrell.
Yeah, and we see that, you know, frequently with the 24 car. With new tires, he's always real good, and then he has a little problem at the end of a long run.
Jeff Gordon had a bad crash last week in Las Vegas. Nevertheless, he went and tested in Phoenix on Monday. And now a little bit sore, but he is ready to race. Thanks in large part to something Jeff Hammond's going to show us in today's State Farm Safety Report.
We all know that when it comes to driver safety, the cockpit is very important. But as always, when a driver gets inside the car, the head and neck restraint that he wears is equally as important. As you see, this is the Honda device we've been using. Holds down on the shoulders, keeps the head attached in the event of a crash. But NASCAR has also allowed a new product, actually maybe a little bit better than the old Honda by Safety Solution. In the event of an angled crash, maybe does a little bit better job. As you can see, it wears more like a vest, so the driver itself puts it on a little bit like an overcoat. But the same thing holds true. What it's designed to do is keep that head and neck together in the event of a severe crash. Because the most important thing is, folks, we want to see these drivers walk away from an accident.
Thanks, Jeff. That's today's State Farm Safety Report.
And I just continue to say, safety is a moving target. If you ever think we've got it all figured out, or if you ever think you can't get hurt driving one of these things, then you're making a big mistake.
Well, like last week, Darrell, we thought we had all the openings at these tracks on the inside for access by safety vehicles, well protected, and we found out improvements can be made.
And we'll fix it. I mean, that's what you do. You learn from what happens on the racetrack, and it's what we've done ever since we've been in the sports existed.
And I talked to Trevor Ashline, who's the president of Safety Solutions that builds that hybrid. And Trevor's the first to tell you, the Hans device is a great piece. It has helped a lot of drivers, but they've just tried to carry it to the next level, like what Jeff was talking about, more of the angle hitting to the wall.
Kyle Busch now with 18 cars on the lead lap, 113 laps in. His lead over Dale Earnhardt Jr., 1.5 seconds, and holding just about steady, as you see.
I think the thing to always remember is that this is a 500-mile race, and there are parts of the race where you just kind of working on the car. Got a car sideways off 4 here, guys.
Casey Kane in the 9.
Through the grass. I noticed last time off 4 he was sideways.
Keeps it away from the wall and oncoming traffic.
Keep rolling if you can.
Caution's out. It's the 3rd one today and the 1st one for an on-track incident.
Not sure what was wrong with that car. Last time off turn 4 got really, really bad loose, and that time he spun it.
And Darrell, the leader, Kyle Busch, was not that far behind him. You know, he was probably stepping it up a little bit, trying to keep from going another lap down.
Guarantee you're right there.
Let's watch on board, Darrell. What happened to Casey?
He's down in the bottom of 3 and 4 here. He comes up off the corner. Oh, he just loses traction. He just spun the tires.
You're all right. You're all right. Caution's out. Just stop right there.
And Darrell, you know, that's something the teams were really working on yesterday. And we normally don't have that. That was all the way up on the straightaway.
Right, watch this thing. It just comes up out of there, and it's right where you're trying to mat it. That's right where you're trying to kick that 850 horsepower in. Probably goes a lap down.
You'll see the leader coming by right there, Kyle Busch in the 18.
This ought to be interesting.
From Digger.
I see Digger didn't come out of his hole at all.
We're not going to see Digger again until Groundhog Day.
I got to go down and get my helmet if we're going to do that again.
All right, Matt Kenseth gets the free pass, and pit road is open. Matt?
Same problem as last time for Carl Edwards, still a little touchy on entry and on exit. They're going to try to tighten up that race car, not only with a chassis adjustment, but also air pressure change in the right front. The 8th man not allowed yet, so the tear-off will have to wait till next time, Steve.
Matt, they talked about taking a rubber out of the right rear spring of Kyle Busch's race car, but they decide to adjust with wedge. Dick.
Junior's car has been very good all day. He has been in the top 3, so they haven't changed much of anything. Krista.
Denny Hamlin said he is giving something up in the right front of this car. Also, he said, I don't know how much splitter I'm going to have left. They are knocking it all over the place. Adjustments for Denny Hamlin, a 20-second stop.
Kyle Busch leads them off pit road as we're under caution for the 3rd time today. After this happened.
Better duck.
Better dig. Digger.
Getting set to go back to green. You're riding with Jimmy Johnson. Tire wear has been a concern here. Listen to what Chad Knaus told Jimmy about how their tires were wearing.
It looks great, Jimmy. I mean, they're great. I mean, you can see they're working. All 4 corners are working really, really well. But there's a lot of rubber left, man. No signs of cords, anything, anywhere, like what we've seen in the past. It's not like it's, you know, Fontana or something where the tire doesn't work, you know?
That was good information that Chad Knaus gave Jimmy Johnson. That was after that second pit stop. That was 44 laps on the tires. Reason it's good information, Jimmy knows how hard he's been running that car. Chad tells him your tires look good. Jimmy knows, hey, if I need to, I can step it up, especially late in the race.
Ready to go green with our Claret and Clear to drive restart. Get Claret and Clear. Get back to feeling like yourself again.
And analyzing those tires after a run absolutely tells you everything you need to know about the car. Which one's wearing the most, pushing the right front, sliding the right rear, pressure build up in the tires, camber, everything you want to know about that car, those tires tell you.
Information that can help you today, help you when we come back in the fall.
And take what the driver says with the tire analogies, and you can really help your car a lot.
Kyle Busch leads Dale Earnhardt Jr., Kevin Harvick, Clint Boyer, and Jeff Gordon on the break here. A pass-through penalty for Jeremy Mayfield. He pitted outside the box, and a penalty also on this round of pit stops for J.J. Yaley. Mayfield's penalty will knock him down 1 lap.
As Kyle Busch just drives away right now from Dale Earnhardt Jr., we see a battle there between cars that are a lap down right in front of Kevin Harvick. Casey Mears in the 5, Kurt Busch in the 2. Again, battling to be that first car a lap down in case the caution comes back out. This battle right here is for 9th, Jimmy Johnson. I think they just keep making that 48 car a little better and a little better.
That's the test of the day in my mind, because that's what they're known for. If they're going to be good, if they're going to get over this hump they're on, they got to do that today. Watching that 18 car Kyle Busch out there, though, reminds me of Daytona when they called him and told him he needed to take it easy. He said, negatory, Knight Rider.
Michael Waltrip's wild day continues. He was steaming down pit road when a car pulled out of its pit stall into the high lane. Got Michael off in the grass after contact, and that other car was his teammate, David Rudeman.
He wasn't happy about it either.
No.
Carl Edwards just used Michael as a pick coming off turn 2. Jimmy Johnson got bottlenecked behind Michael Waltrip in the 55.
Driving away big time now.
He just ran 30.73, talking about Kyle Busch. Dale Earnhardt Jr. just ran a 31.01. In fact, Kyle Busch's fastest lap of the race, the last lap he ran.
And did you see him just come off turn 4? Sideways, baby, but in the gas.
Now, one of his teammates, Denny Hamlin, was 4th before the caution. He's fallen to 13th. His other teammate, Tony Stewart, after a quick pit stop by Zippy and the boys, Krista, he's up to 6th.
A great pit stop, Mike. They picked up about 4 positions. Tony's kind of been fighting about everything. First he had a tight run, then a loose run. Right before this stop, he said, boys, you've got to get me tighter back to the gas. That's because he's a little free in, but he is really loose off. By the way, he is the leader of this team, the veteran. When I said, Tony, you're the leader of Kyle and Denny, he said, I know, that's scary, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'll tell you a guy, Larry, that's found his groove. Little blue deuce on the outside right there. Now, he's a lap down, but he's come marching from back in there, and watch where he's running now. I think he's discovered something. His sails are in here, but watch when he gets back in the gas right here compared to Jeff Gordon. Really puts a move on.
And of course, what he's trying to do is get up there and catch Casey Mears in that 5 car, because right now Casey's the first car a lap down.
And you know what, Larry? I didn't notice the 5 up there. That's what it is.
Yeah.
He is driving as hard as he can, trying to catch up with that 5 car.
And it's not that these cars were so bad in the first 100 laps of this race. It's that Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kyle Busch were so good. They came around and started lapping cars very early in this race.
Yeah, a really good car like Dale Jr. had, and a mediocre car, you're going to get lapped here in a hurry.
Happened to Matt Kenseth.
You know, guys, we've been talking about getting aggressive with adjustments, and we know that you can change the wedge, the air pressure. We see them adjust that track bar on the right side. But Jeff Hammond, Casey Kane right now, who's 2 laps down, Kenny Francis decided to get real aggressive with a change on the track bar that last stop.
Yeah, they know definitely they had a lot of trouble there, Larry. They came in, they pulled the left rear tire off. They went inside. Let me show you what they do. Unlike the right side, you have to loosen the bolt up on the left side. You got to loosen this up. And what they actually did, they went down with it, so you'll get it loose. Taking and working around this a little bit. Drop it on down, tighten it back up. Now, what they're effectively trying to do is get some more rear grip with this race car. They've got a lot of trouble. You saw him got loose off that corner around him with, so they're trying to hook this back end up. Now, guys, you were also talking a little earlier about the front splitter. We heard about Denny Hamlin's car. Here's a piece of the front splitter. You know you want to push it down and make it get as close to the racetrack as possible. But let me tell you what it looks like when it starts hitting the racetrack. This is what this Tegris looks like when you start skipping it off the racetrack. It's very durable, and if you start bouncing it off the racetrack, it's almost like hitting something solid. This thing doesn't give a lot, and that's what he's complaining about, bouncing the front spoiler off the racetrack, guys. They've got to work on that also.
Thanks, Jeff. 127 laps complete. Kyle Busch 2.3 seconds ahead of Dale Jr. now.
I've seen broken splitters so far this year and a little bit last year, but I have yet to see anybody wear one out.
But I tell you, there's been a lot of people complaining about hitting them. I know Greg Biffle in the 16 car, who's up to the 14th position. I know on that first pit stop, they were looking at his front splitter because he'd been hitting the ground so hard with it during that first run. Casey Kane right now back in the 33rd position, 2 laps down.
And I got to tell you, when you start doing changes like they did, you're desperate. That's a desperation when you start making those kind of changes. And here we got Harv underneath Dale Jr. fighting for second.
Dick Berggren?
Well, Junior just told his crew that he's spinning the tires off 2. Imagine that, 180 miles an hour or so, Mike, and he's spinning the tires when he picks up the throttle. He also said the car is more comfortable, but it's slower. Steve.
Dick, earlier in this race, Kevin Harvick, driver of the 29 car, said, man, this is like a dirt track race. But on the most recent pit stop, no adjustments to that 29 car. He likes it.
He was good in practice.
Talked to him yesterday after the nationwide race. He so badly wanted to win that race yesterday. You know, it's his own team this year. Got his own car. He and Delaney
have a flat. He's falling back big time.
It's Harvick talking about Junior.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and he could be right, because right now Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, they're running in the mid-32s. Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s last lap was 33.42, so a second off on that last lap.
Yeah,
yeah, he's got a problem. You could see him right there,
yeah,
Darryl.
He's got something coming apart here.
Boyer just drove by him in the 07.
I don't know.
Darryl, if that car's hurt, how long do you dare stay out there?
Boy, I tell you, that's taking a chance, and it puts such a burden on the driver, because the team always leaves it up to you. And now, am I feeling something? Am I sure? How long do I wait before I make the stop?
And you could see right there, he was well up on the straightaway. Watch the throttle trace right there. He'll be almost all the way around the corner before you see it go 100%, just playing with it there. Now, another battle that I've been watching is this battle right here between Denny Hamlin in the 11 and Jeff Burton in the 31. but a car they just went by, that was a battle actually for 7th, but a car they just went by, he's been holding his own all day long. Martin Truex Jr. and the one qualified to 3rd position. Right now, though, he's working on Carl Edwards. Looks like Carl, the 99 car, his car is going away here just a little bit.
Made the wrong, probably took a swing at it, went the wrong way. Come back in next time, go back the other way. Good thing about a 4-hour race, had plenty of time to work on it.
Wild thing, Kyle Busch still out front here at 133 laps. His gap on Kevin Harvick, 4 seconds. You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's, let's build something together. NASCAR on Fox and time for an AT&T race break. Your leader, Kyle Busch, came in as the points leader and has led the most laps so far this season. Clint Bowyer, moments ago, part of Richard Childress Racing, also in a Chevrolet, getting ahead of Kevin Harvick. And there is Bowyer in the 07 car, and Tony Stewart moving in front of Jeff Gordon in a battle for the 4th spot. We've had 4 leaders and 9 different lead changes so far. A quick recap, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who came in 2nd in points in his 88 amped up car, but the first 39 laps. Now Casey Kane came in going for his 4th straight top 10, 3rd in points, a little bit too fast, wheel hopped it.
I screwed up bad right there.
Kane went a lap down. Kyle Busch, here's where he took the lead from Junior back on lap 60. But all day, Jeff Hammond, handling has been an issue.
And you can see here, about the very start right there, Juan Pablo Montoya, he gets a little loose right there, almost gets into the 8 car, Mark Martin. Jimmy Johnson, our defending champion, he's sideways off that corner. Even our leader, Kyle Busch, he's got his hands full. Everybody's having to get up on the wheel. Look out the front of Denny Hamlin's car, watching the 88 car, Dale Jr.'s. His car is even loose up on the straightaway, Chris.
And of course, Casey Kane, moments ago, falling down 2 laps.
That car just snapped around on him. Again, they don't have a lot of grip with these tires. Watch it out, Digger. Around comes the 9 car. He almost gets Digger right there as far as our gopher cam's concerned. Again, we're looking out the front of the 31 car. Our AT&T race break.
Yes, and that's the Jeff Burton cam, who is running in the top 10. If you want to get an exclusive look inside the world of Richard Childress Racing, Jeff Burton on the 31 Chevrolet. Well, thanks to AT&T, you can, using cellular video on your AT&T handset. You can access all the inside RCR content. That is an AT&T race break. Let's rejoin Darrell Waltrip, Larry McReynolds, and Mike Joy.
Well, it's shaping up as a battle between Joe Gibbs Racing and Richard Childress Racing. They have 4 of the top 6 spots between them. Dale Earnhardt Jr. has just dropped out of the top 7. He's backslid to 8th as Tony Stewart surrenders 4th place to Jeff Gordon. So a lot of movement behind the top 3 who remain: Kyle Busch, Clint Bowyer, and Kevin Harvick.
It's definitely like maybe the 24 car is a little better on this long run than they were the first couple of long runs. But right now, as you mentioned, Mike, that 20 car, Tony Stewart, they've been getting that car better and better. I think he's actually been pretty good since the drop of the green flag. He just started so deep back in 32nd.
Well, if you think about Bobby Labonte when he drove for Gibbs and how he's dominated this place, he has the most wins of any current driver. And then Gibbs cars have always been good here. Childress cars have always been good here. And you've got Carl Edwards in the Roush car lingering or lurking back there, but he's not as good as these other guys right now.
Steve?
Steve Addington just asked Kyle Busch. He said, how's your race car? He said, entry's better, exit's better, center's snug. I don't know.
It's still pretty fast. Last lap 33.60. That's not the fastest lap on the board, but he's still got a 2.7 second lead. But Larry, Clint Bowyer's coming.
Well, he is, and the guys talked about Clint Bowyer in the 07 car in the pre-race, and the question was, is this car in trouble? Well, it looks like Atlanta has maybe put an end to their woes they've had in the first 3 races. Qualified 7th, and Krista, he looks to have one of the fastest cars on the racetrack right now.
He does indeed, Larry Mack. Watch out, Kyle. Here comes Clint. He is getting quicker and quicker. He's been loose all day, but at this track, that's exactly what you want to be, at least to start, because it is going to tighten up. His crew chief, Gil Martin, said, Clint, don't push it. Kyle is loose. Just stay steady.
There's only one driver right now lapping below 33 seconds. And that was Denny Hamlin, and now his lap times have climbed up into the 33s as well.
I think this car defies logic. You know, you want to drive harder and catch up, but you can't. You got to slow down. It ought to be written on every dashboard. Slow down and go faster. Back off early, roll the center.
You know, we had Mark Martin on our Trackside show on Speed Friday night. It said it reminds him of the old cars we used to have back in the 80s where the back window was straight up and down, not very much downforce.
None at all, and that's why they're spinning the tires up on the straightaway. There's nothing to hold the car to the ground.
Good battle there, fourth on back. Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, Denny Hamlin, and you see behind Hamlin, Carl Edwards is part of that mix. Matt?
Edwards trying to work his way back up to where he was before that last pit stop, Mike. A little miscue with the jack, trying to align up with the jack post, cost him 5 spots. He just says the car is just way too loose. If we can get it tightened up at all, we'll have a rocket ship. Right now, he's just hovering in 7th.
Well, the 3 cars right in front of his onboard camera are the 3 that he is racing for 4th place.
You know, the other thing it kind of defies is when you're loose, you want to put some more wedge in it, kind of tighten it up. I'm not so sure that this car is not happier when you just take the wedge out of it and try to plant the rear tires.
Steve, trouble on the leader?
Yeah, Mike, I just heard Kyle Busch tell Steve Addington he hit the fence in turn 1. He said, I bet the rear housing is doing all kinds of weird stuff right now.
This was going down into turn 1 just a few laps ago. He actually hit the wall as he was trying to swing the car out to make the entrance down into turn 1.
That's just how free it is. Getting in and getting off, that's really how free it is. But I question whether it hurt this car, because this car is pretty durable on that right side.
Well, let's take a look at the lap times right now. The last lap he ran was 33.63. That's going up against some 30s and 40s behind those cars right behind him. That lap right there, 33.86, but he was working a little traffic that lap.
No, you know why his car not driving as good as it was? Because he got a mirror full of an 07 car, and he's looking back and saying, I thought I was the class of the field.
Well, Clint Boyer is just half a second behind him. And Boyer here in 4 starts, 2 top 10s last year, 2 6th place finishes, and here comes that 07 of Boyer.
You got that right. That's what got Kyle Busch in trouble.
Started stepping it up just a little bit, and I think Clint Boyer, he will lead that lap, it looks like, as we completed 151 laps.
New leader, a man from Kansas.
New sheriff in town, boys.
And Darrell, what you guys talked about in the pre-race, this is the team, the driver that finished 3rd in the points last year. They were there all year long. They were there throughout the chase, actually led the points for a little bit. But because a lot due to bad luck, they come in here 24th in the points.
And at 5th place, Carl Edwards starts moving forward. Makes the pass on Denny Hamlin. So the Gibbs cars have surrendered the lead now and 5th. Clint Boyer becomes the 5th different driver to lead this race and only the 3rd driver to lead it under the green flag.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution.
Closing in on halfway here in about half a dozen laps. Clint Boyer is your leader. Kyle Busch, Kevin Harvick, Denny Hamlin, Carl Edwards are the front 5. And right now Boyer is pulling away. He gained 0.6 of a second on Kyle Busch just in the last lap alone.
And we're closing in on the longest green flag run that we've had. In fact, we're about 6 to 10 laps away from what will be green flag stops.
Hey, I got to say congratulations to Rick Bird and the Belmont Bruins. They won their tournament last night, and they're going back to the NCAAs, to the big dance for the 3rd straight year, and that's a whale of an accomplishment for that school. Coach Bird, he's the man.
Watch Jimmy Johnson, and there's Scott Riggs, Greg Biffle. Ooh. You talk about that big slide to the top of the track. Is that what Biffle just did?
But they're all, you know, there's hardly a car that comes off that corner that doesn't do that. Some worse than others. That was pretty drastic right there.
But you know, talking about that 48 car, Jimmy Johnson, we felt like they were making that car better. He just continues to lose more and more ground, going for his 3rd win in a row. And Matt, they got a lot of work to do if they're going to make that happen.
Larry Mackey came on the radio about 15, 16 laps ago and says, when I get home, I'm going to take some karate lessons because I feel like Jackie Chan out here. This car is just all over the place, so loose. He's looking forward to that next stop, which we are closing in on the next window.
Yeah, we're getting really close to that next stop. Mike, I can't help but think it's like what few green flag stops we've had by cars. We've had pit road speeding penalty problems. These guys really got to be on top of that and aware of that.
Johnson has dropped to 18th, and there are only 19 cars on the lead lap right now. Here's Dick Berggren.
Well, Junior's lap times are pretty decent, Mike. He right now has just cut a lap that's faster than the leaders. But oh boy, is he unhappy with the behavior of that race car. They have made minor adjustments to it on each of the pit stops. He said recently to his crew chief, Tony Uri, that he has a 40th place car. The right rear won't hook up. He needs and wants major changes this time around.
But Darrell, he's the 8th place car, so he made a good choice of keeping that car out on the racetrack. The tire was not going flat. It was just becoming hard to drive.
Yeah, I believe they can help him. Here comes 48 on pit road, guys.
Early, Larry?
Not really, because he was about to go a lap down, and of course you get those fresh tires, Matt, you'll feel like King Kong for a few laps. Matt?
And Larry, Matt, that's exactly what Chad Canals told Jimmy. He says, we were close to beginning lap. We might as well come sooner. Besides the air pressure adjustment, they were talking about a change in that left rear. He's away. Good stop by the Kobalt Tools crew.
And I tell you, there'll be a little bit of cat and mouse game here because, you know, you don't want to come to pit road early because if you get a caution, you're going to be burnt by that caution. But I know for a fact about 2.5 seconds you'll see gain with new fresh tires.
Here comes
Mark Martin coming, and is that Franchitti with him? Excuse me, it's Kyle Petty also coming onto pit road. There's Mark. You can see he's been up against the safer barrier today.
Yeah, this is when I don't really want to be a crew chief, because now I got to decide when to come, and I don't want to come and get trapped here with a caution flag, but my car is junk. So what am I going to do?
And like I say, these guys hitting pit road, they'll be running over you if you stay out there too long.
Well, doesn't that decision depend a lot about where the leader is? In Jimmy's case, they were about to get lapped, so you might as well come in now. You're going to lose that lap on the racetrack, or do you want to lose it on the pit road and have a chance to make it back up?
But what Chad Canals and Jimmy Johnson, what they're banking on is we will cycle through these stops before we get a caution. Right now we're seeing Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Martin Truex Jr. come to pit road. Dick.
Well, Junior is on his way down pit road. They had discussed the possibility of an early pit stop, but as you guys mentioned, that wasn't the smartest thing to do, so they left him out. This is a regularly scheduled pit stop, but boy, does he want some changes in that hot rod. Yep, there goes the wrench in the back window for the changes Junior's asking for. Just one round, that's all. They have been working with air pressure. No doubt they're doing that, but they're not saying anything about it on the radio. They're doing all this with notes. Privately, he's out. One car coming on the outside.
Truex is in. That one car was David Gilliland. Denny Hamlin on pit road. J.J. Yaley. Here comes Jeff Burton and Ryan Newman to the pit lane under green flag stops.
Got to really watch that coming on pit road. It's such a short entrance. Get caught speeding.
Krista?
Denny Hamlin, the number 11, complaining his water temperature up to 250. They're also going to put air in both right side tires. That's Denny Hamlin in the 11. He's away.
Riggs, Biffle, Menard, Kyle Busch is in. Kevin Harvick comes down the pit lane. And Tony Stewart.
All right, Gil Martin, he's got to bring Clint Boyer in this lap. He can't keep letting these cars make stops and get those fresh tires, Steve.
Larry, Mack, Kyle Busch still very concerned that he has bent something. He thinks it's a trailing arm mount. They had talked about taking a spring rubber out of the right rear, but they just make a chassis adjustment for Kyle Busch.
Labonte, Carpentier, Vickers, Kenseth. Hornish is in, so is Elliott Sadler. And Krista, here comes your leader.
That's right, Mike. The leader is coming indeed. Earlier in the race, he was complaining of not having any grip. Right now, Clint Boyer and this 07 crew have had a grip on the lead as he brings the car in. He's been a little loose. You see him working on the right side there. Gas going in. The Sunoco fuel for the 07 coming around to the left. He has not said anything on the radio at all. He is focused in the car. And there he goes. Matt.
And the 99 of Carl Edwards. A number of guys taking a real wide berth when they hit pit road near those commitment cones. His car way too free, but he stayed out an extra lap to lead a lap and get 5 bonus points. Krista?
Jeff Gordon saying he is still loose in the turns, but his car has been better on this run than it was on the lap. They were turning better lap times. Here comes Jeff Gordon now, sliding into a spot right there. They have the very first pit stall, the far end towards turn 1. You see the crew working on the right side. Again, Jeff Gordon has had a laundry list of problems all day, but he said his car is getting better. Loose in, that is still the biggest problem for the 24 DuPont team.
Martin Truex made 2 stops under this round of green flag pit stops.
Was one for speeding, you think?
Good chance.
We'll have to find out.
We'll double check.
That'd be my guess. Tough road to get, pit road to get onto.
Now Jeff Gordon stayed on track and pitted late to lead a lap and pick up the bonus points. We're just past halfway in the Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by non-drowsy Claritin allergy products, by Napa Auto Parts. Napa, get the good stuff. By McDonald's, score something good for breakfast. Try the new McSkillet burrito only at McDonald's. And by the new AT&T, your world delivered.
175 complete, 150 laps to go here in Atlanta. Clint Boyer leading Kyle Busch by 2 seconds. In the top 10, 3 Gibbs Toyotas, 3 Childress Chevrolets. Carl Edwards in a Ford, and Ryan Newman.
Now, Clint Boyer just put the 15 car Paul Menard lap down. Paul had hung out on the lead lap for 175 laps, so he was actually having a pretty good solid day. He's still well in the top 20. But I want to show you a car that gives you living proof, never give up. Matt Kenseth started back in the 38th position, had to go to the complete rear of the field because of a transmission change. He went a lap down before lap 25. That was on lap 26, and actually now, after getting the free pass and back on the lead lap, he's just about to work his way back into the top 10. Living proof, never give up.
He got his lap back at lap 115, Larry, and he's marching toward the front. He's about to be a top 10 car here if he can get past Ryan Newman.
Yeah, his song is "You Haven't Heard the Last of Me."
I will be there, just as he was yesterday. He maybe didn't have the best car yesterday, but he was there in position. You know, that was Matt's first Nationwide Series win in over a year. I didn't realize he did not win a race last year in the Nationwide Series.
I think his team, he and his teammate, I think Carl Edwards and he both will be factors before the day is over with.
We checked on Martin Truex. They did not have a pit road penalty. They had a loose lug nut on the left rear and had to come back in and tighten that. Was the reason he made a second stop under green. The Biff trying to move into the picture. He's in the top 15. 16 cars on the lead lap. Scott Riggs and Paul Menard have just gone a lap down.
I don't know what they did the 48 car that last time in, but he's not very happy with it, I can tell you that. He is just pulling over and letting people go right now.
Las Vegas all over again.
Man, I mean, it looks bad. He just kind of slides up the hill and says, go ahead, get off my bumper.
We'll probably be excited about next week going to Bristol, a whole different type of racetrack than we've been to these last 3 weeks.
Man, I'm telling you, he's in big trouble right now, Mike. I just saw him come off turn 4, and I could read the numbers on the right side of the car.
Here it is.
He's up high. He's got to run off there and look at this thing. I mean, it's going nuts right now. Pretty much out of control. What are they saying, Matt?
Well, he thought he was Jackie Chan with all the karate moves, the hands all over the inside of that cockpit because the car was so loose in the previous run in DW. When you can see Kobalt on that right quarter panel every time he comes off turn 4, that is not a good sign. That thing is just wicked loose.
Denny Hamlin, unscheduled stop for what
the
was
wheel's just real hard to turn.
The 5th place car.
There, gotta go, get out.
Krista, what happened?
He said the tires are just so hard. He thought he had an issue. They said the left sides are good. He thought he had an issue with the left side tires. Mike Ford said the left sides are good. You heard him say on the radio there, he just couldn't turn the wheel, and he has no power steering. That Denny just came on the radio and said that.
Whoa, that's not good here with the way these things are handling.
Especially with 144 laps to go.
I'd say he probably wore it out.
And with 1 mile of corners every lap and only a total of half a mile of straightaway, he's going to have a lot of work to do here.
Those blowers they put on tires, they ought to put one down on the steering box here. Because I guarantee you they're working it.
Right now, Denny, he will stay in the top 20, but he's 1 lap down. We've got 15 cars on the lead lap. The next car that will go a lap down, he's only about 3 seconds out in front of Clint Boyer, and that's Jimmy Johnson in that 48 car.
Oh, he'll definitely. Jimmy Johnson's going to go a lap down. He's going to have to come back to pit road before too long because he's out of control. And I just thought, and I still believe, today was the day that we're really going to find out what that 48 team is made out of. They've been able in the past to just wave that magic wand that Chad's had in his toolbox over that thing and fix it, but apparently they lost the magic wand.
Well, the Fords are rising to the front. Matt Kenseth, you remember, had to start at the back and got lapped early, and here's Edwards and Biffle. Edwards now in the top 5, Kenseth the top 10, and Biffle coming.
I stand corrected on Matt Kenseth. I just got the information. He did win one Nationwide Series race at Texas last year.
And everybody got free fries on Monday.
There you go, just like we will this Monday.
That's right.
Curly fries.
Steve, how about third place Kevin Harvick?
Mike, he just told crew chief Todd Berrier, he said, quote, I know it sounds silly, but I'm having to save my brakes right here.
Well, it really doesn't. And I tell you a couple of things that I think these guys are going to be dealing with as we go forward with this car. You have to slow it down getting in the corner. It doesn't take a lot of brake. It takes a lot of brake when you're running 200 miles an hour. I'm not sure these guys have a brake package that is designed to run on a 500-mile race running 200 miles an hour using brakes.
Yeah, you normally come here with a fairly light brake package. You don't want that unsprung weight. You start using more brake than you're used to. Then it can be hard on the brakes and you can wear them out.
Well, I was going to note there a minute ago, I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was, it may have been Jimmy Johnson, how much brake dust came out of the front tires, out of the front wheels when they made their pit stop.
Speaking of stops, Denny Hamlin was just in for an unscheduled stop. That has dropped him off the lead lap and back to 18th. Krista?
And this is really disappointing, Mike, for this team, because back on lap 115 after that stop, Denny came on the radio and said, guys, if we can fix this splitter problem, I think we have a car that can win. And just a further update, it was that right front that he had a problem with. You know, he's been having a problem driving that right front into the track so hard all day. That was where he thought he had the problem. Mike Ford said, your lefts are good. We're just going to change the right. So they made a 2-tire, a right side change. But again, the bigger problem now, no power steering.
Yeah, I tell you, another car that's in trouble, we talked about him a minute ago, is that 48 car of Jimmy Johnson. He just gets lapped by Clint Boyer. There you see Robbie Gordon in the 7 car right now. Robbie's trying to fight to stay just 1 lap down.
And look at Robbie. He is exciting to watch. It's like he's got a pair of rollers on the right side sheet metal, and that's about all that's keeping his fenders off the wall all the way around as he tries to battle Clint Boyer and get back one of his laps. He's fun to watch.
He is that.
Wall's in his way. If they just move it out a little bit further.
Clint Boyer looking for his first top 15 finish of 2008. He's your leader in Atlanta. Here we go.
Strap down the big TV.
Now it's D-Day.
That's a nice ride.
Let's get a little dicey.
It's going to come all the way to the wire.
Play nice, boys.
28-year-old Clint Boyer of the 07 car from Emporia, Kansas, trying to get things right this year, is your leader in the Kobalt Tools 500. 131 laps to go. He's in front of Kyle Busch, and Carl Edwards. Kevin Harvick running 4th. Jeff Gordon currently 5th. Jeff Hammond, Chris Myers, thanks for being with us. NASCAR on Fox, and the winner. This isn't from Jeff Hammond's tool chest here. This is the award to the winner of today's race.
Very, very unique trophy right there. That's what everybody's gunning for, and you need to put that down because nothing about wrenches. I can promise you that.
What are these for exactly?
Those right there are for the winning crew. They actually get an extra right there to go along with it.
Well, everybody wants to cash in on this.
Oh,
Who are you keeping an eye on now? We ran through the guys at the top of the leaderboard.
Well, so far I've been watching the 43 car, Bobby Labonte. Again, he's been having some strong runs of late. And again, this is a racetrack where he's won many times, Chris. I mean, it's good to see him back here with the petty guys, running as well as he is today.
Now, Labonte is a 6-time winner. How about Tony Stewart? A couple of wins in Atlanta, had the hard hit last week, and he's hanging around.
Definitely not going to go away today. Again, former winner here, a guy who's, like I say, trying to rebound from a very hard lick last week at Las Vegas. But I heard that Tony rebounded, went tested at Phoenix, but he was also out riding his horse about the middle part of the week, so he's feeling pretty good, and so far been very strong working his way up through the field.
Obviously, the foot hasn't bothered him. And Carl Edwards, who won back-to-back races and, of course, had the issue where the points were taken away in our pre-race show, said the punishment he thought was fair, currently running 3rd, and he's led for a lap today. At one point, he was as far as 16th. This is a track he's had success on. Is he a guy who's going to be able to hang around?
You don't ever want to count this guy out, because if they can get it just right and catch the cautions right, kind of get him closed back up for a little bit, he could easily be a factor. Because to me, the way this racetrack's running right now, you're sliding the cars around. I'm not surprised one bit. We got a caution on the racetrack right now to see guys who run well on the dirt running good here today.
All right, so far Kyle Busch, your leader, with 89 laps, the most laps led so far, followed by 60 from Dale Earnhardt Jr., but Boyer, your leader, with the caution out. Now let's rejoin Darrell, Larry, and Mike.
This will be the 4th caution of the afternoon, and it comes out at lap 198. There's debris in the area of turn number 4 that has just slid down near the apron. And Brian Vickers was about 3 car lengths ahead of Greg Biffle. And Vickers will get the free pass and go back on the lead lap.
And that's his 2nd free pass of the day. Jeff Hammond just had talked about Bobby Labonte. Very timely caution for Bobby Labonte in that 43 car, because he was not far out in front of Clint Boyer, our leader.
Vickers had been giving Boyer a fit trying to stay on the lead lap.
Well, what do we expect on these pit stops? Steve Burns.
Well, Mike, when the caution came out, Kyle Busch said, "My hands hurt so bad." Steve Addington said, "I know, buddy, it's a long day. They need more grip," Krista.
Clint Boyer is extremely good, so much so they are not planning on making any adjustments on their race car on this stop. 4 tires and fuel. That's the plan for Clint Boyer. Dick Berggren?
Well, Junior's guys are on the wall ready to pit his car. It could go through the complexity of what's going on. I'm just going to tell you, he wants it exactly the way it was when the race started. Matt?
Carl Edwards, great rebound from that earlier pit stop. Now he says the car's still way too free. Robbie Reiser looking to tighten him up on this pit stop. Also, NASCAR is allowing team members, their 8th man, to go over the wall to service the driver. So look for a tear-off of the windshield of the 99.
11 cars on the lead lap. After they are done pitting, then Brian Vickers will be allowed to come in. So we will restart with 12 cars on the lead lap. The sound and fury of NASCAR not limited to those 190-mile-an-hour roar-bys. How about if we crank it up on this pit stop?
Hustle, guys. You got to get back.
Under caution for debris at lap 200.
Hood up on the 11, Mike. Hood up on the 11.
And I think what they may do, they're going to check the power steering fluid, see if it's leaking, or maybe even add some to try to get them to the end of the race.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by UPS. Thanks, Dale Jarrett, for 7 unforgettable years. It's been a great ride, Dale.
UPS delivers up-to-the-minute race information at foxsports.com. Keyword Fox Tracks. Cleaning up from the 4th caution of the day. This one for debris. Clint Boyer, Kyle Busch, Carl
Go
Edwards.
this time. 1 to go at the stripe.
Kevin Harvick, your leaders. Casey Kane, now 3 laps down. He's had an interesting day. He is the only driver to bring out a caution for an incident on track. So that makes him our Allstate Good Hands driver of the day because he did not launch this car back out into traffic. He saved it to be able to continue. Of course, Casey's had some close encounters with Digger and a little bit of unique training, not to mention that lovely driver's suit. Casey Kane is our Good Hands driver of the day. Special suit not included. Allstate, are you in good hands?
It sort of felt like that guy standing behind him with a helmet on his head. What the world is going on?
I was going to say, normally nothing comes on that screen that Daryl and I can't comment on, but I think we'll just let the pictures tell the tale there.
It's a great commercial.
I can just tell you this. I don't feel good about that one. Poor Casey. And those girls are after him all the time.
You know, we've been talking about guys getting aggressive on changes. Reed Sorensen, the 41 car, his crew chief Jimmy Elledge, right now they're 2 laps down back in 29th. They've decided maybe we'll just use this as a test session. They have changed the front shock absorbers on this race car. This is normally a great track for Reed. Had 2 top 10 finishes last year, and he's from nearby Peachtree City, Georgia.
Nothing normal about this weekend, I can tell you.
Ready for our Clareton Clear to Drive restart. Live Clareton Clear. Indoors and out.
Told Mike this race reminds me of operator. Can you connect me to 1982?
12 cars on the lead lap, Daryl. Led by Boyer, Kyle Busch, Carl Edwards, Harvick, Gordon, Stewart, Earnhardt, Burton, Newman, Labonte, Kenseth, and Vickers. Green flag. Clint Boyer's speed building with 121 laps to go.
He's not building fast enough. Hello.
I mean, Kyle Busch in that 18 car, what a run he got on the high side on that restart. It just launched off turn 2.
Yeah, he had a lot of momentum up on the high side coming off that corner, and he is gone. Look at him get back in the gas and go.
That was romp and stomp. I'll show you who should be leading this race. And he did.
Not dead yet. I love listening. He got some funny lines.
He is having fun out there. There's no question.
Can you imagine how many miles he's run here this weekend?
Well,
Friday, Saturday, and again today, and all the practice and all the qualifying in 3 totally different vehicles. A truck, a nationwide car, and these things.
It's 1,000 race miles for Kyle Busch, the only driver to do the triple here in Atlanta this weekend.
Now, this wad of cars right here, Matt Kenseth is the only lead lap car. Right now, Matt is back in the 11th position. Remember, had to start this race at the rear of the field. Got a lap down, but got the free pass, and he's working toward the top 10 now.
Kyle Busch in the deuce, 1 lap down. Has tried hard to be in position for the free pass, hasn't gotten it yet.
I can tell you something. That 17 car, unless it's in the garage, don't ever count him out.
You're exactly right. No matter if he's 1 lap down or 2 or 3 laps down.
He's just got a way about him of getting himself back in the race.
And his teammate Greg Biffle right now is 13th, the first car 1 lap down.
And you know what? His personality is exactly how he drives. He's really kind of laid back, doesn't get all that excited, kind of takes things as they come.
And when he needs to, he can get really intense.
He can be aggressive. We've seen that a time or 2. I'd say he's one of those that does unto others as others does unto him.
He reminds me of a description of driving that you once gave, Daryl, back in the day, of having to be aggressive, smooth.
Yeah, that's him.
4th place, Kevin Harvick. 2.7 seconds off the lead at number 29, Steve.
Mike, you mentioned how teams have been making aggressive changes. Prior to the pit stop, Kevin Harvick said, we're going to have to make a big stab at this. So they took a spring rubber out of the right rear spring, took a pound out of the right rear tire, and went down 2 rounds on the track bar. He said these things are so hard to drive right now.
They are, but that's what you got to have. And Larry, is one of our, maybe I think it was one of our points about the race, adjustability. As the track changes, rubber builds up, you got to find a way to get your car working here at the end of the race, and you got to have some adjustments. And here's a great battle for second. And there's a guy you hadn't heard the last of either.
No, sir. Carl Edwards in that 99 car. They got off, I think you said it, Darrell. They got off, I think, on one of their adjustments a couple of stops ago. But I think they're starting to get it back. But, you know, that's the thing I questioned when they reported Dale Earnhardt Jr. wanted his car back to just exactly how he started the race. I think he wants it to drive like that. I'm not sure you can go back to that setup. This track has changed a lot.
A lot, and it does. Historically, this joint does this about this time of day. The sun is going down in the west over here, and it's shaded over there, and the sun is beaming down on 3 and 4. This track goes through a tremendous transition.
But how about Edwards and all of the controversy this week? He lost 100 points. So did his car owner. They lost $100,000. Most importantly, he lost his crew chief, and yet he's in a position to try and win his 3rd race in a row.
You know the last time he thought about that was
before
when
he
they dropped the green flag.
Yeah. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Tony Stewart for 6th.
I'm not sure we've heard the last of that 88 car just exactly yet. He had his hands full off 3rd and 4th.
We may be talking about him. I don't know if it's going to be good or not.
Well, it's like we've always said. Cars turn left, we talk about them. Cars turn right, we talk about them and show a lot of replays.
That could have been big. Horton almost had a who right there.
Where is my man Horton at? I know he's in there. There he is.
Horton in theaters.
I just hope Digger and him don't run into each other down there somewhere.
March 14th. Let's listen on Carl Edwards here.
I don't think you mind if I call you Matt, but I mind it if you call me Bob. Camera swiveled so you can't see me, otherwise I was going to wave at him. Yeah, 10-4. We should probably go all the way around and everybody say hi to Bob, otherwise he ain't going to feel, you know, like he's wanted. Hi, Bob.
That's funny.
Talking about Carl's crew chief Bob Osborne, who is under a 6-race suspension.
And I tell you what, this 99's fixing to do. They're about to take the lead of this race because he is flat running that 18 car down. And the thing I want to say, and what we say is our opinions. I really believe, I know a rule is a rule, and certainly NASCAR did what they needed to do. But I bet you could rewind that race last week, 25 laps, go in there and seal that oil tank box cover down, and that 99 still wins the race.
Here's what really got me all week long. That oil tank lid off of that thing. I've been in the wind tunnel. I've done that. It's what, 40 or 50 pounds at the most, and that's an exaggeration. By the time we got here, oh my gosh, that's 200 pounds of down. You can't do anything to a race car to increase 200 pounds of downforce.
So if it was intentional, the thing I want to say as a crew chief, if I thought I could gain 10 pounds of downforce or half of a second, you know what? I was normally led down the road that I needed to do it.
You're watching NASCAR on Fox.
Caution's out for the 5th time today in the Kobalt Tools 500. You saw Carl Edwards give Kyle Busch a little tap there, indicating that I was about to take the lead from you. And the yellow wave for Elliott Sadler, who bounced off the wall at turn number 4.
I think he spun, but I swear I don't think he hit anything. I thought he was headed up there, but he saved it, I believe.
As Sadler brought out the caution, there was a fierce fight for the lead. Edwards had caught Kyle Busch and was trying to make the move to lead this race for the 2nd time today and the 1st time under green.
12 cars on the lead lap. Ryan Vickers the last car. Greg Biffle that 16. He will be back on the lead lap with a free pass. So we go back racing with about 100 laps to go. We'll have 13 cars on the lead lap.
Pit road is open. Here's Matt.
Robbie Reiser reminding his driver, Carl Edwards, the green uniforms for his pit stall. Carl says the car still is too free. It's tight for about 2 laps, so they went for a slight track bar adjustment. Steve?
Matt, Kyle Busch has gotten tight in the center. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on the 18. Dick?
Junior's car is better. It's still not perfect. They're making minor adjustments to it. He has had to park cockeyed here on his pit stall. Krista.
Similar to Kyle Busch, Clint Boyer's car getting tight in the center, but they are not going to make any adjustments because Clint said he was starting to catch them. They're going to save the adjustment for the last stop.
Well, with only a dozen lead lap cars, pit road empties pretty quickly, and Jeff Gordon pops up 3 spots.
And having that very end pit box right there, you can see the DuPont sign. He only had to move a little bit. That's the reason he can pit those spots up. Darrell, did you ever park your car cockeyed?
No. I didn't come and think of it.
You did, you didn't know it.
Well, but you can park it with the right rear tire hanging out over the line. That is legal. As we show you Dale Jr.'s
Bumper
entry
cars.
into his pit.
This is why he was cockeyed. He got knocked that way.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by the auto parts experts at AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. Under caution, just over 100 laps to go. Kyle Busch, your leader. That recent pit stop, Jeff Hammond, cost Carl Edwards 4 spots.
Yeah, he came in second here, and if you watch the guys on the right front, everything's going pretty smooth, and all of a sudden it looks like he starts missing. He missed the lug nut, had to go back and get it, and what that did, it put the whole time into the entire stop off, and that's really what put him back, those 4 spots right there. So he's got to drive a little harder to get back where he was.
Currently 6th, and we're getting ready to go green.
Kyle Busch, your leader. Jeff Gordon, the pole sitter. Clint Boyer, who's led the midsection of this race. Kevin Harvick, Ryan Newman into the top 5 for the first time today.
I don't know if we've said enough about Ryan Newman, but by golly, here he is in the top 5.
Carl Edwards, Jeff Burton, Tony Stewart, Dale Jr., and Bobby Labonte, the top 10. Green flag with 100 laps to go.
And I don't know if we can say enough with 100 laps to go that all 43 cars that took the green flag are still out on that racetrack.
Yeah, a lot of times we talk about attrition here, but last year in this race, 41 cars finished it. So it's not as, and this car's running a little slower, a little easier on the engine. You're not in it quite as hard.
You know, we've been talking about cars we hadn't heard the last stat. There he is up there in that second spot. Oh, Big Daddy, Jeff Gordon in that 24 car.
5-car breakaway. A lot of action in that second pack, though, as they go 2 and 3 wide with everybody on fresh tires. And Newman with a tire rub, it appears. Matt?
I think we got to fix it. It's rubbing pretty good. How many times do you want to get him, boy?
And right now they're discussing whether to bring him down pit road because of that left front tire rub. His spotter, his father, Greg Newman, checking it out high atop the grandstand, Mike.
He's coming. He's coming down.
Newman surrenders 5th place.
That's unfortunate, man. He just...
Right side. Front. Left front. 2 tires. Left front. Pull the tire.
First they thought it may have been the right side. Roy McCauley, the crew chief, they're going to go with the left side. It definitely looked like the left front that was rubbing.
Newman gets away, but he will go 1 lap down as the leaders hustle toward turn 1. Here's how it happened.
Trying to force his way up in between the wall and the 42, and he makes contact with the 1 there and gets some left front tire damage or fender damage.
And remember, Ryan comes in here second in the Sprint Cup points, only 20 points behind leader Kyle Busch, who's leading the race right now.
Well, he's got a fast race car. I've been watching him. He's been able to hang in there pretty well, so should be able to maybe get up there and get the free pass.
He's going to need one, Darrell. He's a lap down, plus he's at the tail end of the pack. So a long way to go for Newman.
Long way to go.
Jeff Gordon running second to Kyle Busch by 0.7 of a second, Krista.
Mike, my top runners down here on this end of pit road all suffering from the same problem. Cars being tight in in the center. That would be the 20 of Tony Stewart, the 07 of Clint Boyer, and that 24 of Jeff Gordon. They added, and the word was a smidge of wedge. I said, is that the same as a skosh? They said, no, a smidge of wedge to the car. It was a great stop by the crew. Sub 13 seconds on that stop.
Yeah, Larry, a smidge is more than a skosh.
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think I know what maybe's going on here is they go through turn 1 and 2. Watch right there. Darrell mentioned it a while ago. We're starting to get shade down there, and as the track cools down, the cars are going to pick up some grip, and they're going to start getting a little bit tight. I'd say they're probably tighter down in 1 and 2 right now than they are in 3 and 4.
And I tell you, not to take anything away from anybody or give anybody any credit, but that 48 car right now is sitting in the lucky dog spot, and he's running a lot better than he was the last go around here, and he's able to kind of maintain a little bit.
You saw Carl Edwards move past Clint Boyer. That changes third place. And the front three now, Toyota, Chevy, Ford. Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, Carl Edwards.
48 car probably knows this may be their last shot.
Yeah,
they better get back on the lead lap now.
Got to hang, man. Got to hang. But the car looks the best it's looked all day. I will say that.
Elliott Sadler again. Turn 2 this time.
Caution is out.
And who gets the lucky dog?
The 48, that Lowe's car, Jimmy Johnson.
Honey, let me be your lucky dog, or I won't be your dog at all.
Been a tough day for Sadler.
I don't know what to do, guys. I guess we just don't have a way to figure out how to tighten this thing up any.
Elliott Sadler too loose. You'll see him off in the distance coming into view here.
Well, he spun it earlier down here in 3 and 4 and saved it. I think he got a little damage this time.
Regan Smith slips past underneath.
Barely rubbed that wall.
But you know what? I think there's a good example of that rear wing. It fits over the top of the retaining wall. That's why it hardly ever gets any damage to it.
Now this will be a quickie yellow. Let's make sure we explain it. I think we maybe left that loose end before. What that means, we always say the lead lap cars only can pit the first time. On a quickie yellow situation, when the track's clean, they call it. Everyone can come to pit road if they desire.
And they often do that, Larry, when cautions follow in quick succession and everybody's just been on pit road. Matt?
And Carl Edwards, the first of the lead pack cars to hit pit road. He said his car was a little too tight early on, but thinks it's going to be much better for the longer haul. A slight issue with the impact socket on the previous stop. Nothing so far this stop. Steve.
Matt, Kevin Harvick in his car had also gotten tight. They're going to put some air in the right front. Dick.
Jeff Burton has been loose all day. He finally has got a car that's tight. That means he can go to the front. He is pitting out of the 6th position, and that's as far up in the serial order as he has been all day.
I think we had a miscue up at the front of the pack, because right there, Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon, and Clint Boyer, they stayed out. Now, it's been about 8 or 9 laps only since we restarted. But what I've seen even yesterday in that Nationwide Series race, you want tires every time the yellow comes out.
So caution out for the 6th time for Elliott Sadler's spin. 233 laps complete. Chris.
Thanks, Mike. With Jeff Hammond here in the Hollywood Hotel. You know, the Hendrick cars dominated last year, winning 50% of the races and a championship. And right now, Kyle Busch, who used to drive for Hendrick, right now with Joe Gibbs Racing, is leading Jeff Gordon of Hendrick, our pole sitter.
Yeah, right now it really looks like, you know, Kyle Busch has got this racetrack figured out. And again, we want to point out that Joe Gibbs Racing, and particularly with Bobby Labonte driving, have really dominated this racetrack. So it's not really surprising to see the 18 car up front, but what is surprising to see the fact that the Hendrick cars have been struggling quite a bit.
We've had 8 leaders and 17 lead changes. Dale Earnhardt Jr., though, led the first 39 laps, started on the front row. He came in as the only Hendrick driver in the top 12 in points this year. Jeff Gordon, the pole sitter, complained of the car being tight with some adjustments, but he's been in the top 10 all afternoon, never out of the top 10. Jimmy Johnson, who's had problems and has been loose and was a lap down, just got the free pass. The best he's been is 9th. He's been as far out as we said as a lap down. And even Casey Mears is within a lap for Hendrick.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of deals right here where these guys have been up at the front. falling back, and in the latter part of the race here right now, they're starting to kind of pull their act together. Jeff Gordon right now running second. Again, we saw Jimmy Johnson got his lap back, and Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's hanging out there in that 5th position. So if they can just tune it in a little bit better, maybe they can contend for the win before the end of the day.
Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. NASCAR Hot Pass, only on DirecTV, puts you behind the wheel. Let's check in with Matt Yoakum.
And high atop the 99 pit box, does that move fall right into your hands?
What's that?
I said, does that move fall right into your hands, judging from yesterday's nationwide race?
Yeah, I think that was, you know, you got 7 laps on the tires, and here they go away so bad. You got to put tires on the car. So, you know, I haven't been here all weekend to watch all this stuff, but years past it always paid off, so that's why I went with it.
In retirement, you having fun back on top of the box?
Oh, I don't know. It's I just got to get used to my other job now. You know, it goes back and forth from week to week, I guess.
Robbie Reiser, general manager of Roush Racing, came off the pit box at the end of 2007. Now he's back on for suspended crew chief Bob Osborne. Green flag. Here we go with 90 laps left to race.
Now, another car that stayed out is that 42 car, a Montoya, trying to get back on the lead lap. Right now, he's a lap down. But there comes Carl Edwards in that 99 car. He's going to take the 3rd spot away from Boyer before they get off turn 2. And there he goes by Newman, who's a lap down.
Makes sense to stay out if you're a lap down and try to get up there in front of all these cats. I'm not sure it made a lot of sense to stay out there on those tires, but we've heard time and time again from all these guys being out front in this car pays big dividends.
So Kyle Busch, Jeff Gordon out there on 7-lap tires. Carl Edwards on 4 fresh ones chasing. Steve, why did the leader stay out?
Mike, pretty simple. Steve Addington told Kyle Busch, I don't want to give up track position, and Kyle Busch said, I'm with you.
So far, good call.
Well, so far until that 99 gets there. And then he'll say, you know, maybe we should have rethought that.
I think you'll see him probably go by Jeff Gordon in the 24 car here pretty shortly. But if I had a car out there on 7 laps, you know the man I want? Kyle Busch.
Side by side for second.
Yeah, Carl's just able to turn the car right to the bottom. He can maneuver the car right now because he has a lot more grip in the tires than those other guys.
I tell you though, Kyle Busch, you got to be getting tired. I mean, his hands have got to be worn out. He's been gripping a steering wheel for 4 days here.
He's already raced 700 miles here.
Of course, he is 22, so
good point.
Maybe.
This is Kyle Busch's 8th start here at Atlanta. In his first 7 races, he led a total of 81 laps. Today, he's already led 121.
If you take all the laps that cats led in the trucks and the nationwide, and then now here today, Daytona. Good grief. Anybody else led any laps?
All that's left, Darrell, is for him to lead the last lap.
That's the deal. Close the deal. Man, he's down on that white line now, I tell you.
And here comes Carl for the lead. Carl Edwards.
One of our Kobalt keys to the race was pick your groove. We watched Carl Edwards drive underneath Jeff Gordon in the 24. Now he's going to go to the high side around Kyle Busch to take the lead off turn 4.
Well, right now he's Superman. Got those 4 feel goods on there, and he's going to town. That's a good lesson right there for the end of the race.
Well, Friday night in the truck race, Kyle Busch got tires late in the race, and he just stormed through the pack.
Good job, buddy. Cruise control now. Take care of it.
And he did go to victory lane Friday night.
Carl, easy on the tires. You're good shape.
That's Robbie Reiser talking to Carl. Last 3 drivers to win 3 in a row.
You know, once you get off to the kind of start that Carl has gotten off to, you just have so much. Just think what he did last year in the Nationwide Series. I mean, for about the first.
Pretty good. Just a little free right now.
For about the first 2/3 of last year in that series, he had like a 1,000-point lead in the point standings. More like, what did he win, 5 or 6 races?
Yeah.
Now, he fell apart at the end of the year, but he still won the championship.
But that car has the same look that it did at Fontana, the same look it had at Las Vegas. You heard him say it's a little free. The car's turning good. It's not loose. It's just like it rotates right in the middle of the corner.
But as it burns fuel off and the nose weight picks up a little bit, it'll tighten up. It'll be just right for him.
we do know regardless, everyone will have one more pit stop to make.
And see, Larry, I think that's the thing about this car is you got to have it free. And you got to be able to hang on to it in those early laps on new tires until the car tightens up a little bit for you. And it is a handful. I don't think there's any question about that.
Right now, Carl Edwards has pulled out to almost a 2-second lead. Now, this is not a battle for position between all three of these cars. It is between Jeff Gordon in the 24, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 88. We talked about Montoya right now trying to stay in this position to get the free pass should we get a lap down. Ryan Newman is not too far behind him, though, in the 12.
And Montoya gave Jeff Gordon fits. Gordon had a really hard time, as you see right here, getting around and clearing Montoya. Montoya's right back after him.
And they're on equal tires. That green and white car behind them, he has the fresh tires. You can see him turn it to the bottom. Dale Earnhardt Jr.
How about Dick on the 88?
Well, I think he was listening to Darrell. Dale Earnhardt Jr. said his car is loose. We are right at the beginning of the run. Expected to tighten up a little bit. He is in the 4th spot and marching toward the front. The car is better than it was in the last 100 laps.
Going to get a little impatient with Juan here. He needs to get going. And guys are just, I don't care who you are, when you're lap down, you just don't want to mess with a guy lap down. Get out of my way. I'm in a hurry.
Especially when you're less than 100 laps to go.
Inside these last few laps. Anybody see Carl?
80 laps to go. Carl Edwards has a 2.5-second lead. Last week's win shrouded in controversy. Carl Edwards is trying for the three-peat. Carl Edwards will go to victory lane. 2 in a row. Way to go, Carl.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Q from Quaker State. Unleash all your horses. By Amp Energy. For energy, focus, and control, amp yourself. By Chevy, the most wins in NASCAR history. That's an American revolution. And by Allstate. Are you in good hands?
So how'd it work out for those 3 drivers that stayed on track in the last caution, didn't get tires? Not too good.
No, they're going to be very, very unhappy about that decision.
Carl Edwards has run off now to a 5-second lead over Kyle Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 7 seconds back. Jeff Burton 9 seconds in arrears, and Tony Stewart 5th, 10 seconds off the lead.
And in the car right behind him, Jeff Gordon in the 24 car. He's one of those cars that stayed out. He just lost the position to Tony Stewart, and a guy that led this race for quite a bit, Clint Boyer in the 07, stayed out. He's back in 8th, 12 seconds behind Carl Edwards.
13 cars on the lead lap, all 43 cars still running, and we got 73 to go. But Carl Edwards is putting on a clinic.
There's some guys back there, though, Larry, that I don't think we've mentioned very often, but that as I look at the rundown and who's still on the lead lap, when I get back there to 11th, you see Brian Vickers riding along there in 11th place. He's done a great job of staying on the lead lap. And
he got the free pass twice, but he was in position.
And then right there with him is that 43 car. We haven't mentioned Bobby Labonte very much, but he's still on the lead lap.
And Darrell, you talked about the evolution of the tire test that Goodyear did here. When they came back in December to do one more test, the guy they did the test with, Bobby Labonte, the 43.
When it makes sense, because he gets around here really, really well, and he's had a lot of success here.
The fight for the free pass, Juan Pablo Montoya is the first car 1 lap down, followed by Kurt Busch and Ryan Newman. Newman had to make that green flag pit stop. He was the 5th place car at the time, but had to pull the fender away from a left front tire.
Kevin Harvick right now back in the 7th spot in the 29 car. He just reported to his crew chief Todd Barrett, said his car will not turn at all. And again, these guys will start making some green flag pit stops somewhere probably up around lap 270 to 275. That'll be their next stop should we stay green.
And when you run a race like this long, 500 miles, you get that rubber buildup in the groove. And that's why you have to be able to, as Larry was saying in the opening, you got to find where your car will work better. If you've been riding the bottom all day, you might want to move around and find another spot, because you get a lot of oil and debris and rubber buildup down in the groove.
Here's the drive of the day. Matt Kenseth started 43rd because they had a transmission issue. Had to change it. Climbed up to 31st. to 18th, got himself back on the lead lap into the top 10. He's the 9th place car right now, just ahead of Greg Biffle, his teammate, who got the free pass a couple cautions ago. And here goes the Biff.
And we're still doing that teammate thing, though. When you look at the Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth and Greg Biffle, 3 Roush cars, you got three Childress cars, and then you got 3 Gibbs cars. That makes up your top 10.
You know, talking about Greg Biffle, we've been talking about the Sprint Cup points. With the start he's got to the season, he comes in here 5th in the Sprint Cup points, right there in the top 5.
And the 2 Hendrick cars with the 48 not too far back there in 13.
Dick Berggren.
Greg Biffle started this race with a car that just wouldn't handle, Mike. And if you remember, very early on in the event, in the first few laps, he made a second pit stop so they could look under the splitter on that car. They thought the splitter was actually hitting the racetrack. It was handling so poorly. But Greg Irwin and the crew have worked diligently all day long on that car, made the adjustments that were the right direction. And Biffle now is running in the 9th position, and he's doing a good job.
Yes, he is. He's been up there most of the day after they finally sorted through a few problems and issues that they had.
Three Fords in the top 10 now. First time we've seen that today, along with 5 Chevrolets and the 2 Gibbs Toyotas.
Look at this. Got a lap back. 48 car. Guess what?
Going to lose it right here.
Lose it again.
It took him 24 laps to get lapped from that last restart.
Yeah,
Talking about Jimmy Johnson, the 48.
He had his one shot to get back on the lead lap. He took advantage of it, but not good enough to stay there.
You know, he comes in here 14th in the Sprint Cup points. It's one of the lowest points that he's ever been in the points, other than maybe back about his sophomore year after 3 races.
Kevin Harvick moving on Jeff Gordon. This is 6th place. This happening about 14 seconds off the lead.
And Harvick, as I just talked about a while ago, he's not that happy with his car, but that's what the difference in those 7 laps on tires will do for you versus Jeff Gordon in the 24.
It's just hard to believe, isn't it? That you could have
it is.
7 laps on your tires, not very much at all, and make that big a difference.
It's almost worse than the old Darlington. Of course, we go to Darlington in May. We got us a new pavement laid down there.
It'll be a good Mother's Day weekend.
Carl Edwards leads this race. Been a tough week for Carl. 100 points. Owner and driver points gone with $100,000. It's been a good week for Robbie Gordon. Oh, and Elliott Sadler's bad day continues. For the 3rd time he has spun and brings out the caution for the 3rd time today.
Third consecutive caution has been by this 19 car.
This one has a bit of damage attached to it. Look at the nose of his Dodge. I was starting to tell you about Robbie Gordon, who had
we're finally done, guys.
Tough day for Elliott.
Simple, man.
Let's see what happened.
Pretty much same thing happened to him the last time, but he just didn't hit the wall last time. This time gets it loose off a little further off the corner, and he just can't keep it off the wall.
And as on the last caution, his misfortune is Jimmy Johnson's good fortune. Johnson gets the free pass.
I want you to notice, though, on that inner wall there, safer barrier. On the inside wall, the entire length of the back straightaway.
Let's see what Digger saw.
Digger says, oh no, here he comes again. Oh.
Digger's been busy today.
Oh. You know, I think Elliott is mad at Digger.
Well,
I think that's what it is. He keeps trying to knock him out of his hole.
Wasn't it Casey got him before?
But so maybe it's all Gillette Evernham.
Yeah.
Now, Robbie Gordon had an unapproved nose on his car. He had just switched to Dodge at Daytona and got docked the 100 points, the $100,000, and the 6-week suspension for Frankie Kerr as crew chief. And the appeals board this week rescinded that penalty. And very good news for Robbie Gordon and his single car team.
We got pit stops. Our leader, I'm sure he didn't want to see that caution, Matt.
Slight track bar adjustment, Larry Mack. You got to give a call to these guys. They shuffled the changers and the jackman this week. Solid stops pretty much all day. Steve?
That Kyle Busch did want to see this caution. Half a pound out of the right front tire on the 18. Dick.
Junior's car never did tighten up on that lunch run. Stayed too loose. They're going to tighten it up on this pit stop. Krista.
Jeff Gordon said his car is really loose loose off. Also, the compression is causing it to turn itself, but he said when he lands coming through the turn, it's getting tight.
I'll tell you what else got tight was that 88 car and that 18 car coming out of their pit box. There you see the race off pit road. Stewart Harvick making up a position. Jeff Burton losing 2.
As you like to say, Larry, it's a drag race.
It is a drag race. There it is. Kyle Busch will win the battle. Now, what's interesting about this pit stop, it comes with 62 laps to go. That's just outside the fuel window of a lot of these cars.
And we have a lot of these cars.
We have new T-shirts. Go for Cam Security Patrol. I don't want one.
Still hanging in there, though.
Little white flag sticking up over there.
And boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys!
Clear by 1 to the right there. 3 wide. 3 wide. And the leader, you're on the same straightaway. You put the fire down at all. My hands hurt so bad. You're all right. You're all right. Caution's out. You have no idea how good you're doing here.
Cleaning up from Elliott Sadler's spin that sent him to the garage. First car out of the race today. Our aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. Your ticket for the most sports in HD is DirecTV. Well, I think we learned something on that last caution flag, is that staying out on 7-lap tires doesn't do you a whole lot of good. So now you got 4 fresh ones. Now what?
Well, I think you're going to see a replay of what we just saw in the last one. It looked like Carl Edwards has now got it dialed in, and he just drove off and left everybody. But as my buddy here said, he said, these guys are outside their fuel window just by a little bit, or I would be
just
saying
inside of
I might be just inside my window a little bit.
Well, how about it, Larry? 60 laps to go. Can anybody make it?
It's going to be close, because I think right now the pace is slowing down enough. And of course, when the pace slows down, the speed comes down and you're using less fuel. So I think that's what's going to be interesting. But I go back to when they dropped the green flag. I said, what's the outside line? Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Guess who's running first, second, third right now? Carl Edwards, Kyle Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr.
So it sounds like what you're saying is you don't know if you can make it, but you might try.
And I guarantee those 3 will.
Here's Matt.
A couple cars coming off turn 4 here under this caution were actually shutting off and coasting down the front stretch to try to save fuel. Robbie Rogers, though, told our leader we are probably at least 8 laps shy of making it.
Oh, I can't do that. No. Give him maybe 2 or 3, but not 8.
Elliott Sadler checked at the infield care center and released after the nose of his car got wadded into the safer barrier when he spun at turn 2. 7 caution flags today. As we get set to restart, it will be with 58 laps to go.
But you do burn a lot less fuel in this car, I believe, because you listen to the throttle, you just don't have it down all the time like we're used to.
Green flag.
With Tony Stewart in the 20 back and forth did not get a good restart.
At 99 is smoking big time. Not sure what that's from.
Smoke from the right side.
He's got something.
Clear low, check your gauges.
Unless he just spun the tires and got a bunch of smoke hung up in the wheel wells.
Here comes Kyle Busch.
Boy, Kyle Busch drove that thing down in the 3 and 4. He wants to lead back. They'll be side by side at the start-finish line.
Yeah, see, I think that might have been tire smoke off of the 99, just from maybe spinning the tires.
Seems okay now. He wants the lead back off turn 2.
I think he checked up there just for a second to wonder where that smoke came from. It's clear, and I think everything's fine. I believe it was just tire smoke.
And there's a good possibility they lower the air pressures down when they put fresh tires on, that the splitter may have been rubbing, or maybe even the tire rubbing a fender till the air pressures build up.
And Edwards snatches the lead back.
How fast is Carl Edwards? He just ran his fastest lap of the race there at lap 269 with 56 laps to go.
Oh, this place is getting right now. The turns 1 and 2 are shaded. Sun's going down.
Everybody stay smooth, inching away here. 5 back.
Jeff Burton also just ran his fastest lap of the race. Burton is the 6th place car.
As we like to say, business picking up.
Well, it's like a play. A race is like a play. And now we're coming to the closing act.
Steve, Kyle Busch challenged for the lead, and now he's dropped back. What's up?
Mike, he hasn't said a word from the restart. However, we did check. They cannot make it to the end on fuel.
We've got 13 cars on the lead lap, and we've got some cars back there. I think they know that just as far as performance, that they're not going to win the race. But maybe they can out-fuel mileage these guys. Bobby Labonte actually came to pit road a lap later than all the guys. So there's some guys back there lurking that may try to stretch this thing out.
And so did Matt Kenseth. So there's some guys that thought about it. Maybe it'll be just enough.
In Labonte's case, one reason was to stay out and lead a lap and get the 5 bonus points.
It could be a win-win. You get your 5 bonus points, you come on the pit road after everyone else, got a little more fuel.
Jeff Gordon got a great run through 1 and 2 on Jeff Burton in the 31 car. That 24 car will take the 6th spot away from Burton.
See, where we would normally hammer that thing, especially on new tires, being the throttle way, way on down into the corner, you can't do that with this car. That saves fuel. But 99's got a problem, guys.
He is definitely smoking because this should not be an air pressure problem now.
I didn't see him make contact with anything.
Hey, all my gauges are good. 10-4.
It's doing it on the straightaway, Darrell. It's not like it's in the corner. He was doing it just past the start-finish line, and it's getting worse and worse.
Something is a myth.
Something about to go boom.
Well, I don't know about that.
We got smoke coming out of the back of it here. Yeah, it's pouring out here, Robbie. Running fine. We got good oil pressure.
I think you got
smoke coming out the back pretty heavy here. Keep an eye on it.
I think you got a valve cover leaking, an oil line that's come loose.
Yeah, because lap time wise, he has not slowed down. In fact, he's still the fastest car out there.
Yeah, it's not an engine issue.
Black flagging up here. Be ready, guys.
Yeah, this is big now.
There you see the bumper cam. You saw it out the back of the 99.
You guys, it's probably the transmission. On that restart, Robbie, then it went away. They're going to post us here. They're going to post us.
Now that would be
this time here.
That would be interesting to me if it was the transmission, because Matt Kenseth had to change transmission before the race started. Could be some transmission problems with these Roush cars.
So Carl Edwards going for 3 in a row.
It broke. It's broke.
Is broken.
Okay, shut it off.
And that would be, I'm sure he's talking about the transmission.
And Robbie Reiser certainly knew that the 17 had to change this morning.
Yep. What a shame.
Well, it definitely looked like it was their race to lose with about 50 laps to go, but it hands the lead back to Kyle Busch, the 18 car, who yesterday it was his race to lose and obviously had problems going off into turn 1 late in the race.
And Carl Edwards' teammate Matt Kenseth ended up winning yesterday's Nationwide Series race.
Well, I tell you what, there's a couple of things to me that are going to get interesting here. I know Kyle's got a fast car he has had all day, but so has Dale Jr. And I think they've been tuning on that baby. He's running second right now. Wouldn't count him out. And Tony Stewart is lurking back here as well.
Remember, Kyle Busch, he comes in here our points leaders. You saw that he had led 124 laps. You get 5 bonus points for leading a lap, 5 additional points for leading the most laps. He has locked that bonus up.
I believe old Junebug's pretty hungry. I think he's going to go up here and try to get him some of that lead.
He is 1.5 seconds
Trying
behind.
to fix it, babe. Keep wheeling it for me. Got one more stop.
Tony Eury Jr. being a little cheerleader to Dale Earnhardt Jr. And he indicated we have one more stop, which tells me they cannot make it to the end.
Well, Tony sounds a lot happier on the radio than he did 100 miles ago.
Yeah, he does. Well, they started off good. They kind of had the car all over the place, and now it looks like they may be back in the hunt.
Now the car pulling up to the rear bumper of Dale Earnhardt Jr., the 88, that 2 car. Kurt Busch, he's a lap down. He's just trying to stay up there, hoping he gets a caution quickly, and he'll be back on the lead lap, as we have watched a lot of cars all day long.
2 cars been pretty fast. He just can't get that lap back.
But who would Kyle Busch like to beat more than anyone else in this field? Hendrick Motorsports, the team he drove for last year.
Oh, yeah.
The Kobalt Tools 500 on Fox is sponsored by Lowe's. For all your home improvement needs, Lowe's, let's build something together. By Subway, where Tony Stewart goes to fuel up. Subway, race hard, eat fresh. By Viagra. And by Principal Financial Group, we'll give you an edge.
43 laps to go, caution out for the 8th time. Fluid in turn number 4, Speedy Dry going down to clean that up. Carl Edwards led 33 laps today. His quest for a three-peat is over. Matt Yoakum.
Mike, we followed the trail of fluid all the way back to the garage. So what was the final culprit?
I don't know. Something's it's bleeding heavily from the engine. I just got to thank all my fans, everybody for sticking with us this week. It felt good to drive up there to the front, and thank Affleck for being on board. I was just cruising along, man. That thing's really, really good. So I know Bob's at home. Probably got a hole in the TV right now, but I mean, you can't ever say what was going to happen, but I think we were going to win that race. I was just having a blast.
For the record, I saw Robbie Reiser smile 3 times today.
That's because he kept calling me Matt, and I kept calling him Bob. But just thanks to all my fans. This week's been a lot of, there's been a lot of stuff said, but I think we showed them we got a fast race car, and they're going to have to deal with us every week. And I'm just really proud to be driving this Ford Fusion.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, buddy.
Carl Edwards is only the second car out of the race. He and Elliott Sadler are now in the garage with 42 laps to go. 12 cars on the lead lap, and it will be 13 when we restart. Kurt Busch gets the free pass.
Daryl, the kid's a class act, isn't he?
Oh yeah, I love him. Just he keeps his head up. He's got a good attitude, always positive, thick and thin. He's the man.
Well, he won 2 races in a row, but after Las Vegas, the cover for the area that holds the oil tank reservoir, not the tank cap or cover itself, but the cover over that area, was not attached, and that was a major infraction that cost the team dearly, including the 6-week suspension of their crew chief. But Edwards stormed right back and ran strong today. Chris.
That's right, Mike, and in our pre-race show addressed what you talked about and said his focus was just on winning this race going into it.
The mission right now is just to go out and win this race today, man. I'd love nothing more than to make it 3 in a row, but no, I've learned enough in this sport not to let something get me down. This has been a good couple weeks for us.
So Carl Edwards actually came into the pit second, lost 4 spots here, but was very competitive here, taking the lead on lap 168. But with 51 laps to go, the smoke coming out and the problem bringing out the black flag and his crew, as you saw, pushing the car in and ending the chance for 3 in a row for Carl Edwards. We've had 9 leaders, 24 different lead changes, and with 8 caution flags, Mike, 2 cars out of the race, as you pointed out. Pit road is open.
So teams at the ready. As we've learned, you need 4 tires every stop if you're going to keep up with the Busches.
Well, we've got 12 cars on the lead lap. We know everyone can make it from here. This could be our last stop. Remember, one of the Kobalt keys to getting the victory lane? Final stop, mistake-free.
Kyle Busch leads them on to pit road. Steve Burns.
Mike, Kyle Busch told Steve Addington, I just need to turn in the center a little bit better. They know what they're going to do. They're going to take 1 round out of the left rear, a wedge adjustment. He also wants a windshield tear-off on that 18 car. Dick.
Junior keeps asking them to put the car the way it was at the beginning. He does mean the way it behaved at the beginning. It has been loose since about the halfway point. Krista.
Similar to his teammate Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart also tight in the center. He said, guys, you've got to free it up for me a little bit. We have a car that can win. Tony has done so at Atlanta on Sundays twice before.
You know, the Killer Bees, I thought they would have got out. I thought they were out in the front there. They were not. Sorry, back in 9th is Matt Kenseth as Kyle Busch leads the race off pit road.
How about that Greg Irwin led crew for Greg Biffle? That's 16. They pick up 5 positions. Dale Earnhardt Jr. loses 2.
.40 laps to go in Atlanta in the Kobalt Tools 500. This is NASCAR on Fox.
Going to be another one of those fantastic Atlanta finishes. Gordon got loose in Harvick.
Believe in storybook endings, folks. This is one for the books.
And here they come, and I think Gordon's got the advantage. He does. He wins. What a race.
Born a little son of a farmer in a small town.
Will this be another exciting side-by-side Atlanta finish? We are 37 laps from finding out. Teammates at the front, Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart. Greg Biffle got a great pit stop. He's 3rd. Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, teammates. Jeff Burton, Clint Boyer, Kevin Harvick, teammates. Here we go.
Boy, Tony didn't get off to a good start at all. He spun tires a little bit.
He has not had a good restart all day long, Darrell. If you go back to that last that last restart, he bottlenecked everybody up.
3 wide. Gordon through the middle.
Somebody
makes it. He got Biffle.
Biffle just about wrecked over there. He went right up through the middle of them.
We did get confirmation. Those 5 spots he picked up, those guys did change 4 Goodyear tires.
Kyle Busch running for daylight. Squinting his way into turn 1 in the late afternoon sun. And trying to open up a lead on his teammate Tony Stewart.
And right now his best friend is the guy that beat him in the Daytona 500, Ryan Newman, in that 12 car, who's a lap down.
Matt Kenseth is at the back of this pack. He made an extra pit stop under caution, and they raised the hood on his number 17 Ford. Matt, what's up with Matt?
Mike, they changed the throttle spring on Kenseth's Ford. All he said was, please, whatever we do, don't make a slight mistake and cost us a lap. This could end up being a pretty decent day compared to how it started.
Yeah, because we only have 13 cars on the lead lap right now, because Kurt Busch and the 2 got the free pass when that last caution came out.
Kenseth started last due to a transmission change. He's led this race, and he currently runs in 11th.
Kyle Busch just ran his fastest lap of the race again a lap ago at a 30.22. Now we're getting down there in qualifying speeds.
Yeah, it just keeps getting cooler, Larry, and as that sun sets, only issue now for the drivers will be one of our points. That's visibility going into turn 1. You got to watch that. Remember how Kyle hit the wall going down into turn 1 earlier today? You got to be careful when that thing swings out with you getting down into turn 1. Don't let that back end step out on you.
We're riding with Dale Earnhardt Jr. Let's take a look at it as they go down the front straightaway into turn 1.
Not quite that bad yet, but it's getting there.
Right about there. A good bit of glare.
Starting to get there with 33 laps to go. The last 10 or 15 laps this race, they'll be looking dead into it. No windshields. They're starting to pit up, so not the best vision to begin with.
Probably the saving grace is this car can't drive it off in the corner quite as hard as they did the old car, so got a little more time to get ready.
We talked about him all day long, his struggles. He went a lap down. Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. He got back on the lead lap. And as we anticipated, now he's worked his way back into the top 10. Probably not a race-winning car, but I'm sure they'd love to come out of here with a top 10, considering how they ran last week at Las Vegas.
I think you got to give them a lot of credit for hanging in there today and not giving up on that thing, because it was about to wreck there a number of times.
And Matt Kenseth, after that pit stop for a throttle spring, has worked his way back into the top 10. He and Greg Biffle in 5th place, the only 2 Fords up there.
11 just got the finger.
It's a battle between Jeff Gordon in the 24, Greg Biffle in the 16. It's a battle for 4th. Montoya in the 42 is a lap down.
I believe what we just heard was that Denny Hamlin, 1 lap down, was in somebody's way.
Yeah, he just sort of went across the hood of the 48 car.
Boys will be boys. And Matt Kenseth moves up to 9th. Jimmy Johnson trying to hold him back on the right of your screen, while Jeff Gordon and Greg Biffle battle for 4th. Looks like Biffle's going to win that one.
It's like Biffle gave that position back just a couple laps ago, but I believe his race car is a little better than Jeff Gordon's. He'll go back around him. You know, Darrell, as I look at Kyle Busch leading this race now by over 3 seconds with 29 laps to go, I know racing is about how fast you can run. But right now, it's not about leading this race. It's about how far out in front of the second place you are. And when I think about the races that that team has not received because of getting in trouble, it's like maybe just give about 90% right now.
Yeah, I'd hope that that's something he was going to learn. He's got to learn that in order to put a closing touch on some of these chances he's had. He's let a few of them slip away, and he's just got to learn how to hold back that little bit.
Toyota's 1-2, Busch and Stewart, with Earnhardt Chevy 3rd. Toyota won their first Craftsman truck race in their 13th start. That was Travis Quaffle. Their first nationwide start in their 22nd race, Jason Leffler. Today is the 40th Sprint Cup Series race.
Look, I think the thing about Kyle is when you're as good as he is, you got as much talent as he does, I don't think you realize how hard you're pushing it.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's got that much ability. It's kind of like a basketball player that could score 50 points. And your team's already ahead by 30 points.
But this is where you don't want that wall just to reach up and grab you like it did earlier when he was going off into turn 1.
And this car will do that to you. This car gives you a sense of security, but if it gets loose with you, look out.
Today's Sprint Mobile Monster moment is Wild Things Wild Weekend. Kyle Busch started it off Friday night in the NASCAR Craftsman truck race. He got fresh tires late. Watch his number 51 go 4 wide on the bottom, way below the apron, to move up and eventually, not too many laps later, take the checkered flag. Then on Saturday, his number 18 in the nationwide race was doing his thing, cut a tire and had problems. And today, man, he is out there. NASCAR news happens fast with NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Get the latest news now, not later.
And that thing about that pass on the apron, it wasn't like everybody slowed down. It wasn't like he drove that thing down there under control. You know, a lot of guys try to do stuff like that, they'll wreck. He drove it under control, went right on by those cats.
And right now it's somewhat stabilized. We've got 25 laps to go, and he's just a little bit quicker than Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. Right now, actually, Greg Biffle seems to have about the quickest car on the track, but not a whole lot over Kyle Busch.
Now, I know it's something that he doesn't probably use very often, but he needs to keep an eye on his rearview mirror and keep those guys just back there far enough where that they can't get to him, but don't keep trying to stretch the lead here.
But isn't it amazing that as we're only into the 4th race of the season, the 2 biggest stories are up there looking like they have 3 players to win this race, and that was Dale Earnhardt Jr. leaving DEI and going to Dale Earnhardt Incorporated, and Joe Gibbs Racing going to Toyota. That's part of your top 3 right now.
Hey, DW.
Yeah, buddy.
You know, I hate to bring this up, but I want people at home to understand you're speaking from experience when you tell this young man he needs to slow down a little bit, because I remember a race at Darlington distinctly that you were told to slow down because you had everybody else covered, and you kept kind of like knocking the wall down, and it eventually cost you the race and the championship.
Yep. No, I told them to shut up and leave me alone. I knew what I was doing.
Yep. And in the end, who knew what they were doing?
Yeah.
And that's all I mean, I think people need to understand that you've been there and you have a lot of empathy for what this young man's going through. And he's got his hands full right now, guys.
Well, Jeff, that's where I learned not to beat yourself. That was something that I had to learn. I learned it that day.
You know, I just had mentioned about Greg Biffle having about as quick a car as Kyle Busch in the 18. You saw him just go by Dale Earnhardt Jr., so Greg moves into the 3rd spot.
Toyota, Ford, and then 4 Chevrolets with 22 laps to go.
We've had some cars at the front on and off today, but I guess overall, if you look at this 18 car, he's been there all day, the most consistent of all the front runners.
151 laps he's led, Darrell.
He's been up there most all day at one time or another. Look at him, and look at his hands in there. Do you think he's just cruising?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. He's
just working.
Look at that. And you know those little hands, they got to be worn out.
He even told Steve Addington that about 100 laps ago.
I mean, you got to work.
Look at the right side of Robbie Gordon's car. Never mind the left side. That's clean and pristine. It's the right side he's been rubbing up against that safer barrier all day. Larry, do they have a maximum thickness of the sheet metal on the outside of these cars?
They do. I'm not sure it's quite thick enough for Robbie Gordon's car in that 7, but I think the great thing about this new car, we saw it at the 16 races last year, is that foam behind the right door and the left door. You can get up there and rub the wall, and it's like the right side keeps its shape and doesn't bend in against the tires. We saw it at Darlington especially a lot last year.
Look at the right side of that. That's a mess.
Well, we're going to
Darlington. Keeps on digging
in a few weeks, and we'll really get to see it work there.
Robbie is 26th, 2 laps back, as Greg Biffle continues to march to the front, trying to spoil Toyota's party here in Atlanta.
Yep. He's nipping away at Tony Stewart, and he's not that far off the pace of Kyle Busch right now.
Hey, DW, we're going short track racing next week.
Bristol. Go there and wrestle with the car. And I'll be driving over there next week in my driving ride car. honey, sit down, sit down. Won't be going that fast.
The Biff is moving in on Tony Stewart.
The one thing Kyle Busch, I think he better hope that does not happen is that we get another caution, because if that 16 car, if they have a good solid stop like last time, those guys are going to be right in the hunt as he's all over the back of Tony Stewart in the 20. 17 to go next time at the line.
Well, and the 17 car really is not that far back either. He's in A spot, so if we had a caution, there's some players, I believe.
And while we've been watching these battles, Clint Boyer, who led this race for quite a bit, just recently went by Jeff Gordon to get back in the top 5.
Boy, the Biff just climbed the hill and almost slapped the wall. How is Biffle's car, Dick?
Well, it's pretty decent, Mike, but boy, they sure rolled the dice today in terms of what they did for a setup. The longest run that they had in practice was just 10 laps, even though they knew they were going to have long runs today. So they sort of interpolated from that, used their experience on this racetrack, guessed at what the weather was going to be, adjusted the car all day long. The crew has been simply brilliant on pit road. I'm telling you, that last stop, when they picked up 5 positions toward the end of the race, deserves a huge attaboy. And so the crew's doing his job. Biffle's doing his job. They did the job in the garage. They're third and looking for more.
Second place battle right here.
And I just think it shows the depth again and how good these Roush cars all are. The Roush Fenway cars. I mean,
but you got him right here now.
You got the 16 here just going into second place.
Clear, 2 back.
Could have very easily have been the 99 was out front pulling away. So I think it just shows how good Roush Fenway stuff is right now.
That's it, bud. Go to work. 15 to go.
That Greg Biffle will finally clear Kyle Busch. And the thing about it, Greg Biffle racing Tony Stewart that hard, his lap was still just as quick as Kyle Busch. We've got 15 to go. You can see a lot of jubilation by that crew as Biffle just drives away from Stewart now.
Greg Biffle is 3 seconds behind Kyle Busch.
Isn't this that racetrack where we had those really close finishes?
And this is where they normally start taking shape.
And in this kind of like that point in the race where you say, well, he can't catch him.
Right.
And then all of a sudden.
Well, we'll see. Kyle Busch is trying to do something that has not been done in NASCAR since 1954. Drive a foreign nameplate car into victory lane. That is band leader Paul Whiteman's Jaguar. Paul was a buddy of Big Bill France, and that's Al Keller in an International 100 at Linden, New Jersey. That is the last foreign make to drive into victory lane in what is now the Sprint Cup Series.
Well, let's see what the stopwatch tells us. Greg Biffle beat him by about 1/10.5 the last time.
Well, that should put him dead even at the finish line if that continues.
Well, that time they leveled out. Yeah. We've got 13 laps to go. The thing about it, I think Kyle Busch is going to start catching the tail end of the field, though, some lap cars back there.
Lap cars could make a difference, but I do notice Greg's lap times are a little erratic, and I tell you why. He drives in a little too hard, car goes up the hill with him. He's really got to try to temper it a little bit here and not overdrive the car. Tony Stewart's come back on him now, and so I think that's the other thing that's going to slow Greg down, having to deal with Tony Stewart.
Well, if Stewart can harass Biffle, that's a good thing for Stewart's teammate.
Yeah, because now Kyle Busch, the last 2 laps, he's beat Greg Biffle by 0.2 seconds a lap. He's pulled out to 3 1/4 seconds. 12 laps to go.
I think the old Biff.
A little bit right there, about 3 backs. Back your corners up a little bit.
Back the corners up. That's exactly right. I think the old Biff overdrives the corner every now and then and loses a lot of time.
The other thing Kyle Busch is trying to do is become Atlanta's youngest ever Sprint Cup race winner. Jeff Gordon won here at the age of 23 years and 7 months. Kyle Busch won't turn 23 until May.
I don't think there's anybody so far out of our first 4 races that has driven harder, put in more effort, and put on a better show than this cat right here in this 18 car. He has been fantastic and fun to watch.
I don't think anybody would challenge you on that statement, Darrell.
They don't give these things away. You don't ever deserve to win one until you win it, but he has worked hard enough and done a good enough job. He deserves to win this race.
There's the interval, 1st to 2nd, with Biffle still 3 seconds back with 10 to go.
Protect your spot.
Now with 10 laps to go, Jeff Gordon actually just got back by Clint Boyer. He's back in the 5th position in the 24 car.
The car looks steady. It's been right on that bottom ever since this last restart. Seems to be working really good. And you see what happens with Biffle. They told him to back his corner up a little bit, let off the throttle a little earlier. Driving away.
Beat the bottoms, Will.
2.9 seconds first to second.
It's the hardest thing for a race car driver to do is slow down and go faster. It just doesn't make sense to you, but it works.
You know, you go back to a year ago when we debuted this new car at Bristol, where we go next week. There's no question the Roush Fenway group, they were so far behind on it, but they've come a long way in a year. Now this right here is a battle for the 9th position. Brian Vickers in that 83 car got the free pass twice early in the race, and here he is battling Jeff Burton in the 31 for the 9th spot.
Good job by Vickers. He just really has done a good job all day long.
Denny Hamlin in the 11 car is 1 lap down.
So that's put 3 Camrys in the top 10. Kyle Busch, Tony Stewart, Brian Vickers with 8 laps to go.
I think 2 questions have been answered today for the Toyota guys. Dependability and performance. And so far it looks like they've conquered those 2 things.
And when I look at Brian Vickers in the 83 car, as we're going to be coming to 6 laps to go, remember, our car that has had to fight for their life all last year and the first 5 races of this year just to qualify, he comes in here 13th in the points. He's working on getting to the top 10. You can see it. If the race ended now, he would be in the top 10 in points. What a year. The difference a year has made in that race team.
And that's kind of insurance for him, Larry, because now he could go to Bristol. If in fact something happened and he missed the race, he would still be in the top 35 more than likely.
I like that crew chief they put him with this year, Kevin Hamlin.
Oh, I like Kevin Hamlin. Thought he did a lot for Blaney and that team when they started.
While we're watching Brian Vickers, let's make a note that they did put Mike Skinner in the team car, the first race that car has qualified for this year, and they're running in the 27th position. So at least that car has run all day long, which is big, considering they've not made a race.
Can't make any notes if you don't make any laps. And that's the big thing about staying out there and running all day. Helps the whole team.
5 laps to go for Rowdy Busch.
Now, Biffle has chopped it down to about 2.5 seconds. This battle for 5th will not go away. These guys been swapping back and forth. This will be the finish back to the line right here for 5th.
Tony Stewart now having to hold off his old Daytona drafting partner, Dale Earnhardt Jr. This is for 3rd place.
I think Junior might have just a teeny bit better car than Tony right now. Looks to me like that even Tony is closing up a little bit on Greg Biffle again. That could become interesting here before we come to the white flag.
Stewart has one of Toyota's 2 best finishes in Sprint Cup, a 2nd at Daytona in February. Dave Blaney got, a third by Dave Blaney at Talladega last October. So 2/3.
Well, I'm going to tell you something, guys. Leader is hung up right now. Just went off in the 3rd turn, and Dale Jarrett.
3 to go right here.
Dale Jarrett drove right up or down in front of him and broke his momentum, cost him a lot of time.
You heard him tell him 3 to go. He's got about a 2.5 second lead over Greg Biffle in the 16 car.
Just be careful right here now. These guys are trying to stay on trying to keep him going another lap down. So handle them with care. Can't get through. Can't get through. Boxed.
You don't want to split them because neither of those cars are working that well.
Right. You got to be careful.
Well, he'll clear one of them.
2 to go. We're good.
2 to go.
2 to go.
And what I like here,
we're good. I'm working on them.
It's Kyle Busch showing patience.
Exactly. But he's got enough lead that and you know what else? Probably tired.
And here comes Tony. Tony's passed Greg Biffle for 2nd.
Yeah, I could see Tony was catching Biff back there.
Darrell, I dare say there won't be a driver out there that's not wore out after today.
I'm telling you. Coming to the white flag. Got a good cushion.
Kyle Busch has never had a top 10 finish at Atlanta.
Boy,
in Sprint Cup racing.
Oh my gosh, get off the back of him, man.
Come on, guy.
I don't know exactly what was going on there, but
Patience Heck.
Well,
coming to the checkers over here.
That's a Toyota and a Toyota. I think I would have asked for a little help there if it had been me.
That was Kyle Busch that said coming to the checkers over here.
For the first time in Sprint Cup racing since 1954.
Come on, folks, give my hand.
Foreign nameplates going to victory lane. Wild Thing wins.
Yes,
Kyle Busch wins the Kobalt Tools 500.
Good job, boy.
And Tony Stewart, his teammate, they'll make it a 1-2 sweep. Dale Earnhardt Jr. third. Greg Biffle falls back to fourth, and Jeff Gordon comes home fifth.
Congratulations, Addington, first one. Good job, buddy. Thanks, everybody.
That is Steve Addington's first career Sprint Cup win as a crew chief.
Great job. Look at that. Oh. It's one thing to think you can do it. It's something else when you know you can do it and then get it done. And that car's been capable of winning all 4 races, really.
Kyle Busch got his first victory in his rookie season. It came at California. That was 2004. His most recent victory was at Bristol last March.
Oh, look out here. Look out. Where are you going?
Anywhere he wants, Darrell.
Those tires are too hard to spin out.
Man, he was going fast.
Kyle Busch burning down the house. He's the youngest ever Sprint Cup driver to win in Atlanta.
Boy, you got him.
The 18th is back at Atlanta. Good job, boys. Kyle Busch, you are the man, baby. You are the man. Love you, dude. You guys, awesome pit stops. I love everybody here. Thank you.
The man, Kyle Busch, youngest winner ever at Atlanta Motor Speedway, is getting soaked in victory lane, and so is Krista Vogt.
I absolutely am, Mike Joy. After 1,000 miles of racing here in Atlanta, Kyle Busch ends the weekend like he started it in victory lane. On Friday it was a truck. Now for the first time this year, for the first time for Toyota on a Sunday, you're in victory lane.
That's amazing. You know, first off, before I lose all my thoughts, I got to thank Snickers, M&M's, Interstate Batteries, Toyota, and Camry. This guy right here, Steve Addington, all these boys that have been on this 18 car from the beginning. And you know, the 18's always been the car to beat here at Atlanta for many, many years when this place was redone and with Bobby Labonte. And this means so much to come back here and do this. And Maycar coming up and giving me his congratulations just really made that set in right. But Joe Gibbs Racing back at home, everybody in the shop, engine shop. I went in and saw Mark this week because I wasn't too pleased with our motors here already, but I guess we didn't need it today. We need more of handling through the corners, but still, I'm not laying down on you yet, buddy. You got to keep going, but overall, great day for Joe Gibbs Racing.
He's talking about Mark Cronquist, their engine builder. It's time for Rowdy to get rowdy in victory lane. He wins 2 of the 3 races in Atlanta. Matt Yoakum.
A 1-2 finish for the Toyotas out of Joe Gibbs Racing, but Smoke, we've never heard more comments from guys today working the wheel. How worn out are you after that 500 miles today?
That's the most pathetic racing tire I've ever been on in my professional career. They exited out of Formula One, they exited out of the IRL, they exited out of CART, they exited out of World Outlaws, and there's a reason for that because Goodyear can't build a tire that's worth the crap. So if I were Goodyear, I'd be really embarrassed about this weekend and what they brought us here. It didn't keep us from winning the race, and how we got to second, I don't know. I'm really proud of our guys on the team and really proud of their pit stops, but it was ridiculous to have to race on a tire like this today. It's not at this form of racing. You know, if they can't do any better than that, they ought to just pull out of this sport and save us all a bunch of headaches, because I guarantee you Hoosier or Firestone or somebody can come in and do a lot better job than what they're doing right now.
Tony Stewart, Joe Gibbs Racing, they're the top 2 here in Atlanta.
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. with a hard-fought third-place finish today. Was the car ever to your liking all day?
Yeah, I mean, there was some times where it was pretty good. This is about the hardest it gets for Tony Jr. as a crew chief. I was hard on him today. The car wasn't doing what he wanted it to. His adjustments weren't making him much improvements, but it's hard, you know, it's a hard job today, and I really needed him on my side because, you know, we wouldn't have finished where we finished without the adjustments that did work. And, you know, we drove hard, worked hard. That's what it's all about. I had a good day. This is how they ought to be.
Indeed, Earnhardt is doing a great job this year. 2 good finishes back-to-back.
With Greg Biffle, and Greg, you follow up a good run at Las Vegas with another good run here at Atlanta. Talk about the end of this race.
Yeah, it was great. I tell you what, Kyle Busch owes Tony Stewart for that win. Tony sure raced the heck out of us. We had a really fast car, but I burned my tires up, racing with Tony. But that's what teammates are for, And just used up too much racing Tony, and then tried to catch Kyle, just couldn't do it, and then fell victim to those guys at the end. The car was real loose, had the rear tires burned off it, so just wanted to get the Jackson Hewitt a good top 5 run, and so I backed it down a little bit, let Tony go, and I didn't know Junior was that close, but almost like the Las Vegas end, I was outside Junior and he wiggled up the track again, but I had a great race and look forward to a Bristol.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Kyle Busch gets the win and the point lead. Carl Edwards led but didn't last. He falls to 17th. Got 4 words for you.
Let's go short tracking, boys.
Oh, Bristol will be really fun. And, of course, Kyle went up there last year, so he's going back to a place where he's had some success. And I'd said from day one, we all did, about that race car, it's a beautiful thing. And you know what? It's even prettier now than it was on Thursday when the first time we saw it.
And you know what, Mike? I said it with 20 laps to go. 2 of the biggest stories coming into 2008. Joe Gibbs Racing going to Toyota, Dale Earnhardt Jr. going to Hendrick Motorsports, and lo and behold, they end up with the top 3. But you know what? I'm going to stick up for the Goodyear Tire and Rubber Company. We watched cars hit the wall hard last week at Las Vegas because they blew a right front tire. Yeah, these cars were sliding around today, but you know what? It was a nice, safe race today.
Kyle Busch, the youngest winner ever at Atlanta, and there are the point standings as we pack up and head for Bristol, Tennessee and Thunder Valley. Chris?
Mike, Larry, Darrell, we'll see you there. Kyle Busch, who won the very first car ever, the first race in the car of then tomorrow. It's the car of now, proving that maybe he's the driver of now. Toyota moving forward, finishing 1-2. How about the Tony Stewart comments?
Well, the thing is, right now, you've got to understand, he's been feeling this way ever since we got here. He hasn't liked this tire. And again, he's going to tell it like it is, whether you agree or disagree. This is an issue here. We didn't have any tire problems like Larry McReynolds pointed out, but you did see there was a lot of guys that had their hands full today.
And Kyle Busch won the race back in Bristol last year. He'll be a favorite once again. I mean, Carl Edwards had a good run. We've had a variety of winners this year, from Ryan Newman to now Kyle Busch. What should we look for?
I've been saying all year long, this is 2008, a year of surprises, and right now we're seeing them. Ryan Newman wins at Daytona. Carl Edwards gets 2 wins really quick. Now Toyota, doesn't take them long to get to victory lane, did it, Chris?
No, it did not. It was an impressive performance. Tonight on Fox, King of the Hill, American Dad, The Simpsons. You'll laugh out loud. And next week we'll be in Bristol, where Kyle had success. Remember, he graduated a year early from high school back in 2002 with honors so he could start his career in NASCAR, but he had to wait when NASCAR ruled that only drivers 18 or older could actually get into the race. Thanks for being with us. Kyle Busch hangs on to win at a Toyota in Atlanta. NASCAR on Fox. Bristol is in our front windshield next week. Promotional considerations provided by